Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening. Shirakawa looked at the blonde beauty and added calmly, but becoming one also means your body and soul will belong to me. Don't they already? Yumiko rolled her eyes. If becoming a chosen meant gaining powers and no longer being haunted, it sounded great. She didn't really grasp what a superpowered person meant yet. Encountering ghosts and becoming Shirakawa's woman had all happened so fast. People chosen by gods aren't the kind to get abandoned, right? Ignoring the slight bitterness in her tone, Shirakawa activated his newly acquired divine skill. The principle was simple. He embedded divine essence into Yumiko's body. As the skill activated, the atmosphere in the room deepened. A pink light began to gather in his palm. This is godly power? Yumiko's eyes widened. She stared at the pink orb glowing in Shirakawa's hand, the air itself sweetened. Her face flushed. Still, understanding it was a necessary step to become a chosen, she instinctively pressed her thighs together, a deep anticipation rising within her. Holy light. Though pink. With a calm expression, Shirakawa lifted the loose t-shirt Yumiko wore and pressed the divine orb against her abdomen. It slowly sank into her. TSS. As the divine energy was absorbed, a tingling warmth spread through Yumiko. The pain vanished. It felt like her whole body had transformed. She clearly felt stronger in every way, though she wasn't excited. She poked her stomach. No extra fat. Only then did she sigh in relief. She was proud of her figure. As she stood and moved around a bit, the difference became clear. Just yesterday, scraping through the 800-meter run had been a win. Now she figured she could finish it 30 seconds faster. As for what kind of powers she'd gained, nothing specific yet. The pain was gone, replaced with a vast well of energy. She jumped off the bed and felt gravity tug harder at her chest. Try it. Notice any changes? Yumiko blinked, grabbed Shirakawa's hand, and guided it toward her chest. A jolt ran through her like electricity. He'd given her that sensation before. She didn't care that Shirakawa was right there as she lifted the shirt. On her previously flawless abdomen, a dark purple butterfly-shaped mark had appeared. It pulsed with a strange yet pure divine aura. This. Shirakawa, what is this? She'd clearly read this kind of thing in some novels. It looked just like those illustrations in those stories. Now one had shown up on her body. Her expression turned odd. If I said it's the divine mark of a chosen, would you believe me? Trying not to let his lips twitch, Shirakawa explained with a flat tone. At this point, his image as a hentai god was probably irreversible. Current chosen of pleasure, 1. Overall attributes increased by 10%, Chapter 58, The Urban Legends of Becoming a Chosen. End of the Demon Slayer World Arc. Note, Mana Infusion Mana Refinement. After turning Yumiko into his first chosen of pleasure, even Shirakawa hadn't expected the boost in his overall stats. 10%. If he had 10 chosen of pleasure, that would double his stats outright. The cost efficiency of this profession was off the charts. And if the number of chosen kept increasing? The most critical point, this percentage-based bonus scaled with his own stats. The stronger he got, the more effective the boost. This profession is seriously interesting. Though the core skill was a bit abstract, the support capabilities it offered were overwhelming. Shirakawa couldn't even figure out where to fully utilize them. He couldn't just go around triggering empathy, right? Divine pleasure. Just imagining himself, known as the god of lust, blending into a dimensional group chat. It was too much of a ridiculous mental image. He dismissed the thought immediately. He turned his eyes to Yumiko. After becoming a chosen, the most noticeable changes were her physique and her even more refined, flawless skin. Can you feel any new abilities? This was his first time granting divine protection to someone, so he wasn't sure whether, like Hestia from Danmachi, he'd need to update her stats on her back or not. Still a mystery. He gave an example. It's like in online games. Even if you haven't played them, you've probably heard of being able to visualize your stat values. Nope. Just feels like my body's in much better shape. After carefully checking herself, Yumiko shook her head lightly. But she was already satisfied with the current outcome. The only issue? Her lower abdomen. Even in summer, she might not be able to wear lighter clothes. And that strange dark purple pattern had to be covered up. She couldn't risk Hebina or Yukinoshita seeing it. It was a little embarrassing. Got it. Shirakawa didn't explain in too much detail. Manifesting ability values like in the Konosuba world wasn't going to be easy. The dimensional group chat's interworld teleport anchor only allowed members to travel. Taking Yumiko to register as an adventurer in Konosuba and using a magic device to measure her stats? Not happening after this. I need to find time to visit the Danmaki world. It's fine to understand Chosen of Pleasure as similar to faith-based familia. That'll help me figure out how to update their status. Guess I'll have to learn from Hestia. Currently, the remaining chat group points, including those earned from signing in before visiting the Demon Slayer world, total 127. To avoid wasting them, it's best to wait until I save up 150 points. He didn't dwell on it. Noticing the pink and ambiguous atmosphere in the room caused by overflowing divine pleasure, Shirakawa looked at Mira Yumiko. She clearly understood what he was thinking. Just being locked in his calm gaze, after becoming a Chosen of Pleasure, Miro Yumiko discovered. Her body could no longer resist. She noticed a dark purple butterfly mark on her lower abdomen, glowing faintly pink. She finally understood Shirakawa's earlier explanation. Becoming a god's chosen meant devoting both body and soul. And pledging unwavering loyalty to the god of pleasure, Shirakawa. Due to her physical state tonight, Shirakawa had gone easy on her. Now that she had become a supernatural being, Miro Yumiko decided not to suppress her inner desires anymore. Offering everything to the Divine One. This is my role as a chosen. You've extracted mana for 12 hours. Gained 1500 EXP. Mana refinement level 11, 2580 out of 20,000, you've extracted mana for 12 hours. Gained 1500 class EXP, through continuous mana refinement, your body has grown stronger. All attributes +6. Morning. Shirakawa spent most of the time helping Miro Yumiko adapt to her supernatural physique. The rest was devoted to mana refinement. Combined with yesterday's session during class, the total refinement time hit 12 hours again, and his stats increased further. He allocated the newly acquired skill points to mana refinement. The attribute boost was clearly significant. Name, Shirakawa. Gender, male. Age, 17. Constitution, 22, 2.2, Agility, 21, 2.1, Strength, 21, 2.1, Intelligence, 22, 2.2, Stamina, 21, 2.1, Mana, 946. Current classes, God, Student, Level 5, Exorcist, Level 5, Holy Sword Wielder, Level 6, Archwizard, Level 5. The values in parentheses are profession-based bonuses from the god profession, which make it easy to distinguish from his base stats. Including the Apocalypse world, he now had 5 Choose of Pleasure, Bujoja Misako, Takagi Zaya, and others. With each chosen boosting stats by 10%, a 50% total boost was quite something. Just thinking about it excited Shirakawa. As for who the next candidates might be, he wasn't sure yet. If urban legends like Hangako or Mary could offer unique traits too, unlocking new profession panels would be a breeze. I need to take care of something. Considering Aunt Izumi would soon arrive to prepare breakfast, things would get tricky if she found Miro Yumiko here. That kind of scene. Even Shirakawa couldn't imagine it. After all, in Izumi's eyes, he was just a normal high school student. If he was already in a relationship with a girl from school, pursuing Izumi in the future would get much harder. Then I'll head to school today. I thought I'd be physically unwell. But since you're busy, Yumiko said. It won't be boring at school. Miro Yumiko found her Sobuha uniform and changed in the bedroom's walk-in closet. Looking at her reflection in the full-length mirror, she could hardly believe it. Her energy and skin condition had vastly improved. She looked nothing like the tired mess she was after yesterday's ghost encounter. She was literally glowing. As she buttoned her uniform shirt. The only issues were, the black pleated skirt was a bit short, and her once slim-fit uniform now felt tight and restricting. She could barely breathe. Ugh. I'll need to buy another uniform soon. Muttering to herself, she bent down to slide on her black knee-high socks, paired with brown round-toed shoes. Her hair was tied into a side ponytail. Rare for her. After confirming that her appearance was flawless, she glanced at Shirakawa, who had finished washing up and changed into sportswear. As she spun around, her skirt fluttered. How do I look now? Beautiful. Hee hee. She wrapped her arms around Shirakawa's and kissed his cheek like a reward. When are you free? Come shopping with me for a new uniform. This one's really not fitting anymore. The chest area's tight, and the skirt's a bit short. I want something normal. In private, Mira Yumeko had an adorably spoiled side. Now that she had chosen Shirakawa, body and soul, he was the only one in her heart. Even if Shirakawa didn't say anything, she felt the need to dress more modestly. And she was determined to keep her distance from other guys. To her, Shirakawa was already her future. Weekend? Perfect. We can catch a movie and buy you some clothes too. This sportswear of yours isn't all that stylish. I'll help you pick. The sweet smile on her face showed she was already looking forward to their first date this weekend. The first one in her life. After escorting Mira Yumeko to the train station, Shirakawa finally had a moment to breathe. Just as he was about to message Antizumi, he noticed a missed friend request. The avatar was a cartoon panda labeled Mr. Pan. With the note, Yuki no Shida. So she's here to apologize? Thinking back to what happened yesterday in the Classics Club, he guessed it was probably about that ghost Yuki no Shida ran into. Now she was seeking his help. Shirakawa didn't think much of it. He casually accepted the friend request, without even bothering to say hi. Then he quickly found Antizumi's line avatar. Mrs. Izumi, no need to prepare breakfast today. I have to head out for something. Just in case she showed up for nothing. After sending the message, Shirakawa immediately headed toward the apartment building, looking for Hangako, the slit-mouthed woman, and Mary. If even spirits could become chosen of pleasure, leveling the god profession would be way easier. This time, it was the Hangako who answered the door. The moment she saw Shirakawa, she had the illusion she was facing a god. Recalling the pleasurable experience with him, her eyes practically melted. She closed the security door and removed her uniform, revealing her flawless, bare body. Mimicking the doll-like Mary, she had drawn an arrow on her flat belly using black marker and scribbled property of Master Shirakawa. Do not offend in small letters. And that wasn't even a lie. Whether before death or after becoming an urban legend, Shirakawa had left an unforgettable first-time imprint on her. Master, are you here to exorcise me? I'm here for something serious. His main goal was to test whether divine skills could be used on spirits and urban legends. Shirakawa shook his head slightly. He didn't bother explaining like he did with Mira Yumeko. Instead, he activated the Divine Mark skill. With divine power overflowing, a pink glow formed in his palm. He pressed it straight onto Hangako's stomach. Even though she had a cold, physicalized body, the pleasure divinity still gradually sank into her. After a short moment, a strange, dark purple butterfly-shaped mark appeared on Hangako's abdomen. With a divine imprint in place, even ordinary humans could ascend into supernatural beings. Let alone spirits made of pure energy. What Shirakawa felt most clearly was the surge in spiritual power from Hangako, and how her aura completely merged with that of pleasure. It actually worked. Current chosen of pleasure, 2, overall attributes increased by 20%, this result was a bit beyond Shirakawa's expectations. He then turned to Mary, whose face was full of anticipation, and followed the same procedure to grant her the status of chosen. Number of chosen increased, +1, lastly, Shirakawa looked toward the slit-mouthed woman. She seemed a bit self-conscious about her appearance, wearing a white mask even at home. I'm giving you all the status of chosen. It's good for you too. Master, I'm ready. Though she didn't understand what it meant to be a chosen, if it was something Shirakawa wanted, she would never refuse. She stepped forward, taking his pink glowing hand and pressing it to her stomach. In that instant, the slit-mouthed woman felt a change in her body. Her expression turned serious as she analyzed it. My body feels warm. And also, my face itches a bit. She subconsciously turned her head and removed the white mask on her cheek. When she saw the stitches from her torn face fall to the ground, she froze. She couldn't help but reach up and gently touch her cheek. The once hideous scar had completely vanished. She couldn't contain her emotions and ran straight to the bathroom. Under the light, she stared at her reflection in disbelief. Smooth, fair cheeks without a single scar. It was like she wouldn't need to wear a mask anymore. This seemingly small change was brought by Shirakawa granting her the status of chosen. The slit-mouthed woman stared at her reflection in a daze. Then, she smiled genuinely, picked up a black marker near the mirror, and appeared before Shirakawa in perfect form. Her eyes full of tenderness, she pointed at her white thigh, encased in tight black stockings, and pleaded, Master, please. Write something here. Current chosen of pleasure, 4, overall stats increased by 40%. Shirakawa hadn't expected the godhood profession to progress this fast. Facing such a small request, of course he wouldn't refuse. As the god of pleasure, enjoying pleasure is only natural, right? In the Demon Slayer world in the courtyard of the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters, all the Hashira had gathered, surprised that the master had suddenly called a meeting. With light green eyes and constantly blushing cheeks, the love Hashira, Mitsuri Kanraji, was a beauty even by modern standards. A few moles dotted her body, and her 3 long sakura pink braids hung over her shoulders, fading to green at the tips. She looked curiously at the flower Hashira, Kani Kacho. Kani, why did the master call a meeting all of a sudden? It's something important. Last night, after seeing Shirakawa off, Kani and her sister Shinobu didn't return to HQ right away. They wanted to check for any remaining demons. But the result? Not only were there no demons in the surrounding areas, but even villages over 10 kilometers away showed no signs of demon activity. It was as if they had vanished into thin air. Kenny recalled how Lady Aqua used her purification light to easily eliminate Dama. Deep down, she had a bold thought. Before she left the world, Lady Aqua lit up the entire night sky for over 10 seconds. That nearly indiscriminate attack. Could it have wiped out all the demons in this world? Before asking the master to hold this meeting, Kenny had already confirmed things repeatedly with Shinobu, to avoid making a fool of herself. What is it? During our mission yesterday, Shinobu and I encountered upper rank 2, Dama. We were in danger, but thanks to 2 seniors, we managed to kill him. What? Kanraji froze at those words, and the rest of the Hashira in attendance turned to look at Kani in disbelief. They were all very familiar with Dama's strength. And now she was saying he'd been defeated? Kani calmly continued. One of those seniors was a god from another world. Before she left, she used divine power to completely wipe out all the demons in our world. No one present immediately objected. After all, they knew Kani's personality. She would never joke about something like this. Seeing their silence, Kani added, I understand this is hard to believe. Shinobu and I also couldn't perform a complete search, so we hope everyone here can help verify. To confirm whether there are any demons left in our world. Chapter 59, the final piece of the puzzle. Minami Rika's resignation. Mistress of the Butterfly State, thank you, Lady Aqua. Thank you so much for clearing all the demons from our world. Mistress of the Butterfly State, my sister and I can finally live like normal people. Blue Ribbon, Aqua. Blue Ribbon, Aqua, didn't you take on a rescue mission from the group chat yesterday? And you even cleared all the demons from that world? My Sakurajima. Yeah, I saw the stream yesterday. Lady Aqua's holy light seemed especially effective against demons. Bronze-level adventurer, luck's not your strong suit, but that did feel very goddess-like. Though your words are always a bit unlucky. Ice Queen, Aqua, your power's impressive. Want to spar sometime? Aqua, as the sacred water goddess, such weak demons are nothing for someone of my caliber. In the Konosuba world, after replying to the dimensional chat group, Aqua raised an eyebrow, her pride written all over her face. She looked smugly at Shirakawa. She suggested again, Shirakawa, are you really not going to team up with us? I, a noble water goddess, have invited you so many times already. If you keep refusing, it's getting rude. Having helped Hangako and the slit-mouthed woman become chosen of pleasure, Shirakawa didn't stay long in the Demon Slayer world. Considering how poor Megumin was. She even lent him her staff. He stopped by the supermarket for supplies and teleported to Konosuba's world. He looked at the Lily girl eating voraciously with her staff in her arms. This time, he didn't refuse immediately and began seriously considering it. He had already filed a long leave request with Shizuka-sensei. No need to keep living the normal high school life. He could now focus on other worlds. And if he were to build a party, besides Megumin, there was another clear candidate. A crusader. A muscle-bound, masochistic knight with a perverted streak. Darkness, real name Lalitina Ford Dustiness, a noble lady of the Dustiness family. With defense so high she could tank Megumin's explosion magic, her personality was both unfixable and perfect for becoming chosen of pleasure. Looking at Aqua's hopeful expression, Shirakawa gave a slight nod. Alright. If we're building a party, we'll need a few more people. Megumin and I are both top-class archwizards, and you're a top-class archpriest. To form a party to defeat the Demon King, we'll need a tank. A top-class crusader should do. That makes sense. Getting Shirakawa's agreement, Aqua was instantly thrilled. As a member of the dimensional chat group, she knew full well. This guy was insanely strong. And with her own support as a goddess, defeating the Demon King and returning to heaven didn't seem all that far away. She pulled out some parchment from who knows where and said excitedly, any other requirements? I'll write them down here and post them on the Adventurer Guild's recruitment board. We'll definitely get someone. You must unconditionally obey the captain's commands and meet all the captain's needs. High defense is a must. Otherwise, your damage resistance won't be enough. Shirakawa was trying to describe the ideal candidate based on Darkness's personality as closely as possible. With the highest tier job. Crusader. He could filter out most of the freeloaders. Once the team setup was about done, they could start taking on quests, earning some Eris, buying a staff with magic amplification effects. Watching Aqua finish writing the recruitment notice, Shirakawa nodded slightly. This should do the trick. I'll leave the candidate screening to you, then. Not sensing anything off about the notice at all, Aqua, who wasn't exactly the brightest, cheerfully pinned it to the guild's bulletin board. Meanwhile, Megaman, who had been focused on her food. When she finally looked up, she gave Shirakawa a strange look. As the world's strongest explosion magic user, she felt something was seriously off. But Shirakawa had treated her to food, so she held back her urge to complain. What she was more curious about was the feeling of using explosion magic. Shirakawa, I can sense residual magic from the staff. You definitely used explosion magic. Excited by the residual energy in the staff, Megaman grabbed Shirakawa's hand eagerly. Quick. Tell me how it felt. As for calling explosion magic the strongest, Shirakawa couldn't bring himself to say something so exaggerated. After thinking for a moment, he borrowed a line from a certain character and said seriously, Art. Is an explosion. You do feel the same as me. Only explosion magic gives me peace of mind. If I can't unleash an explosion every day, my life feels meaningless. Art is an explosion. This line hit Megaman right in the heart. Being able to team up with someone who shared her passion for explosion magic. That had to be the blessing of the goddess of luck. I found a great place. The environment is perfect, and I could use explosion magic every day without complaints from residents. It's an abandoned castle on top of a mountain. Megaman casually shared her routine, completely skipping over the key detail that Aqua had to drag her home every time, fearing it might get her rejected from the team. She didn't notice Shirakawa's odd expression. Blasting explosions at an abandoned castle every day. Why did this plot feel so familiar? If he remembered correctly, that should be the home of the Demon King's general. The Headless Knight? Shirakawa's silence finally caught Megaman's attention. Her youthful face filled with curiosity. Shirakawa, what's wrong? Nothing. Sounds great. As an important officer of the Demon King's army, the Headless Knight had a hefty bounty from the Adventurers Guild. Taking him out would solve any money issues. Shirakawa shook his head slightly. Now that the staff and team were basically handled, all that was left was to lure darkness into the party using that recruitment notice. Once that's done, everything would be set. Not planning to linger in the Konosuba world any longer, Shirakawa explained the situation briefly to Aqua, then used an interworld teleport anchor to travel to the world of the apocalypse. With 4 chosen of pleasure now available, his first goal was to help Sugobujujima, Shizuka Marikawa, and the others awaken supernatural abilities and ensure their safety. Most importantly, the most obvious benefit from increasing God's Chosen was the rise in personal stats. At the Adventurers Guild bulletin board, a cool, golden-haired girl in armor, her long hair tied in a ponytail, was scanning the recruitment notices like always. She glanced through party listings looking for magic users. Currently, her team needed a male mage. Those interested were to contact the bartender at the Cat's Tail Tavern. Urgent need for a priest. Our team has a highest tier class member. The girl skimmed over the notices but didn't find any team matching her criteria. Just as she was about to leave, her gaze landed on a notice in the corner. Her steps paused briefly. Seeking Crusader for party. Interested applicants please contact the Adventurers Guild. Darkness halted completely. The ink was still fresh on the parchment. Clearly posted just recently. It matched her class perfectly. But then, as her eyes moved to the detailed requirements, a sparkle lit in her gaze. The team demanded full obedience to the captain, no complaints allowed. This must be some kind of shameful domination play. High damage resistance. Does that mean I'll be getting attacked by monsters in battle? This is the perfect team for me. After reading the notice, Darkness was breathing heavily. Her eyes glowed with anticipation as she decisively took the paper down. Then looked ahead at the Adventurers Guild and walked forward without hesitation. Back in the Apocalypse world, the teleportation anchor made travel incredibly convenient. With just a brief moment of dizziness, Shirakawa's awareness returned. And he found himself standing in front of Rika Minami's detached house. A few undead still wandered the street, probably drawn by noise. But that number posed no threat to someone like Sugobujujima. That much Shirakawa felt confident about. In fact, there were ways to completely eliminate the undead threat. For example, if he summoned Aqua to this world and used her divine authority, she could probably purify all of them. But doing that, from his perspective, it made no sense. Killing undead granted EXP, and there were plenty of them to farm. It was the perfect farming ground. Once I grant them the power of God's chosen, I won't have to worry about their safety anymore. Standing at the door, Shirakawa rang the bell. After a brief wait, he heard footsteps approaching. The one who opened the door was Rei Miyamoto in her school uniform. Lord Shirakawa. Recalling the madness of the day before, Rei's face instantly flushed red the moment she saw him again. She bowed and greeted him formally. Thanks to Suko-senpai's explanation, she now understood, this seemingly ordinary high school boy was actually a powerful individual from another world. There was no need to worry about safety anymore. The anxiety in her heart finally lifted. However, standing before Shirakawa again, she still couldn't calm her nerves. She knew clearly. This was the man who now held her fate in his hands. Her body tensed. But she quickly fetched indoor slippers from the rack and respectfully placed them in front of him. Lord Shirakawa, welcome. The tsundere personality. It only lasts until reality smacks them around. Like Rei here. Shirakawa rather liked this attitude. Watching the others in the living room rise when they noticed him enter. He didn't bother making the mood too serious. Speaking casually, Shirakawa smiled and greeted them. I'm here today because I need a favor from you all. Lord Shirakawa. Before anyone could react, the air-headed Shizuka Marikawa leapt forward and hugged his arm tightly. Right in front of the others. She expressed her feelings plainly. I missed you. So, can we have some time alone together tonight? That depends on what other plans I have. If no rescue missions came up in the chat group, and nothing urgent happened, staying in the apocalypse world sounded just fine. As the god of pleasure. Of course he wouldn't let any chances go to waste. Feeling the soft pressure on his arm, Shirakawa stepped into the living room, casually scanning the girls. His tone remained calm. Tsuko, you're aware of superpowered individuals, right? Yes, I am. Tsuko Bujujima nodded seriously. After all, most members of the dimensional chat group were supernatural beings. As normal high school students. Only she and Mai Sakurajima really counted. Note, Asuna. The others. Saya Takagi and Rei Miyamoto. Also turned to Tsuko. They'd only ever seen Shirakawa's powers and didn't yet fully understand what supernatural powers meant. As for why he suddenly brought it up, they hadn't quite figured that out. I'm here this time mainly to help you all become stronger. That way, even if you encounter undead, you can easily wipe them out. He didn't beat around the bush. Lying back on the sofa with his head resting on Shizuka Marikawa's, Shirakawa smiled casually and looked around the room. Only if you're willing. Rather than saying you'll become espers, it's more accurate to say you'll become the chosen ones of a god. The girls looked at each other in silence. In the end, it was Takagi Saya who, despite her confusion, took the initiative to ask, Lord Shirakawa, are you saying you want us to become your chosen ones? That's right. Shirakawa had always acted based on equal exchange. Becoming one of his so-called chosen meant there was definitely a price to pay. They had already developed intimate relationships with him. Takagi Saya didn't dare assume gaining supernatural powers would come without any cost. She asked seriously, so, what's the price? Offer me your loyalty. To become a chosen of a god, one must show absolute loyalty to the god they worship. The fact that Takagi Saya could still think clearly at this moment reassured Shirakawa. Loyalty? If this were the Sengoku era, that might mean a retainer pledging loyalty to their lord. But Takagi Saya didn't think it was that simple. That's right. Your body, your mind, and your faith must all offer unconditional loyalty. Betrayers will, of course, be dragged to the tribunal. The decision is yours. I won't force any of you. Shirakawa didn't like forcing them into anything against their will. Everything should happen naturally. The price was complete submission. Body, mind, and belief. In exchange, they would gain the chance to become extraordinary beings. I'm willing. Breaking the silence was Bujujima Tsuko, who smiled gently and walked up to Shirakawa. She already had strong feelings for him. She had long since given herself to him wholeheartedly. Now, pledging loyalty and becoming one of his chosen would grant her extraordinary powers. And at least from a safety standpoint, Shirakawa wouldn't have to worry about her anymore. That was already quite good. Shizuka Marikawa leaned close to Shirakawa's ear, her breath warm as she whispered, if Lord Shirakawa doesn't mind. I could also do it. Only Takagi Saya and Rei Miyamoto remained undecided. But once they locked eyes and walked forward together, their actions spoke louder than words. Their decision was clear. They would become Shirakawa's chosen. They would become supernatural beings. Even if they couldn't keep up with Shirakawa, at the very least, they wouldn't be forgotten so easily. Good. With 4 new chosen of pleasure added, their overall attributes would increase significantly. Shirakawa was in a good mood. He hadn't expected that his God Profession panel would reach 8 members so quickly. Just 2 more to unlock the next panel. Once again, it was the familiar divine bestowal ceremony. But this time, in front of Sako, Shizuka, and the others, he didn't bother restraining his divinity. A soft pink mist slowly filled the living room. After they were granted the status of God's chosen, silver marks on their lower abdomen glowed in the mist. Shirakawa examined the girls. Each one had noticeably improved in both looks and figure. Nodding with a smile, he said, "Now, it's time for you all to show your loyalty. My chosen ones. In a zombie apocalypse. Not throwing a party would be a waste of time. Captain, are you really resigning? With this zombie outbreak getting worse, we're already overworked. Now the world's gone to hell, and we still have to worry about everyone else's safety? No one's ever worried about me." Clad in a black SAT uniform, her long purple hair tied into a high ponytail, Rika Minami had tanned skin from years of missions. After everything she'd experienced these past 2 days, she'd grown tired of her profession, tired of the hopeless future. Instead of holding her post in a broken world, she chose to enjoy life. She unilaterally resigned. Instead of driving a special ops vehicle, Rika revved up her motorcycle. The engine roared as she sped off down the road toward her home. The explosion from last night was still fresh in her mind. She still hadn't figured out what caused it. "I wonder how that ditz Shizuka is doing." Chapter 60, Future Planning. Shocked Rika to avoid being seen as a god who only throws parties, Shirakawa decided to help Sako and Shizuka properly train after making them chosen of pleasure. After all, even combat practice is still a kind of party. Becoming supernatural beings required proper training to master their powers. With time to spare, he brought them out for drills. The surrounding area had been cleared of zombies the night before. Even if a few wandered in, their numbers weren't overwhelming. Perfect for practice. Shirakawa didn't bring any of the firearms from Rika's house. Enhancing combat skill was more important. True strength came from within. Holding a wooden training sword, Sako could immediately sense the physical boost after becoming a pleasure's chosen. Her mastery of the Bujujimura sword style, combined with her enhanced physical abilities, made her movements even smoother. Spotting a zombie charging her way, she met its lunge with calm, decisive eyes. She swung the wooden blade with such speed that after images trailed her strike, cutting the zombie cleanly in half at the waist. She didn't just defend. Noticing more zombies drawn by the noise, her eyes filled with battle spirit. Her burst of speed was fast enough to surpass a professional sprinter. She closed a 20-meter gap in the blink of an eye, cleanly slicing through several zombies with crisp, practiced strikes. So, Sako-senpai can take on zombies that easily? Rei Miyamoto watched in awe. Her face held surprise. She'd only known Sako as the kendo captain of Fujimi Academy. But this fierce Bujujimura swordplay was changing her perception completely. From now on, you'll all train under Sako. Firearms are powerful against zombies, but if you rely only on them, your personal growth will stagnate. Although Shirakawa knew Bujujimura himself, he preferred letting the expert handle it. Watching Sako and the others spar helped him understand how his divine skills worked. The divine authority he granted resembled how the gods in Danmaki, is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon? Built their familia. Updating ability stats for their followers. As for what powers they developed, that depended purely on their talent. If he had to provide direction, he'd have to rely on the Konosuba world. Now there's a lot more I need to take care of. He didn't have enough spare points to travel to the Danmaki world yet. So he couldn't learn Hestia's ability stat update skill to visualize their stats. And next, he had to find a way in the Konosuba world to awaken professions. So his pleasure chosen could strengthen along a clear path. He couldn't just recruit and leave the rest to fate. That kind of chaos wouldn't do. Shirakawa didn't find it troublesome, though. He noticed Sako had already taken care of the nearby zombies with ease. Her powers as a chosen had clearly improved her strength. Looks like it's time. I'll have to trouble you, Sako, to teach your sword style to the others. If anyone isn't interested in swordsmanship, they can wait for now. He glanced at the girls around him. Power growth wouldn't happen overnight. And aside from expanding his group of chosen in this high school of the dead world, there was grinding to do. Of course, Shirakawa-kun. Knowing how powerful Shirakawa was, Sako understood that truly helping him was nearly impossible. But she could still do what she could. Teach swordsmanship to the others. And if I remember right, there's a car nearby, right? Bring something loud we can use to draw out the zombies. We'll clear them out quickly. Shirakawa turned to Shizuka and smiled as he asked. Yes, there is. It's my friend's off-road vehicle. She's probably too busy at work right now anyway, so borrowing it temporarily shouldn't be a problem. Shizuka smiled gently and nodded. She actually wasn't particularly interested in combat, but if there was something she could help with, she would absolutely offer her loyalty without reservation. After leaving the airport, Minami Rika rode her motorcycle toward her home. She was full of confusion, especially about the explosion sounds from last night. There was no way conventional weapons could have caused that. An explosion is a sudden discharge of energy, and the long-lasting blast flames didn't look like the result of a gas pipeline burst either. Still full of doubt, she weaved her motorcycle through the complex city streets. Corpses were everywhere, cars burned from collisions. Why does it feel like there are way fewer zombies around here? Occasionally, a few zombies would be attracted by the engine noise, but their numbers were down at least 80% compared to the airport where she had been on duty. It was strange. Almost as if someone had cleared the area. But with government institutions basically paralyzed and only capable of setting up defensive lines to slow the zombies, how could they spare the effort? As for the survivors, they were basically left to fend for themselves. Minami Rika furrowed her brow and formed a theory. Could someone have used a zombie's sensitivity to sound to lure them away? With nothing blocking the way, her bike cruised through the streets unhindered. Before long, Minami Rika arrived at the road near her home. The difference was immediately noticeable. It was clean. So clean there wasn't a single corpse in sight. In the distance, she saw clearly dismembered bodies, blood trailing along the ground still reeking with a metallic stench. Fresh kills, it seemed. Someone really is maintaining order. Minami Rika finally relaxed her brows into a smoother expression. After parking her bike in the yard, as the captain of the SAT Special Assault Unit, she immediately sensed something wrong as soon as she got to the door. The mat that usually hid the spare house key had clearly been disturbed. Thinking it through for a moment, she understood right away. There were only a few friends who knew where her spare key was. Shizuka Marikawa. And the high heels on the shoe rack confirmed it. One of her few friends was safe, and the tension in Minami Rika's heart finally eased. Good thing that woman's okay. Otherwise, it'd be a real pain trying to track her down. Just as she was about to unlock the door, she heard a car engine roaring from the garage. She looked in that direction. The garage shutters slowly opened. Her beloved Hummer H2, so rarely driven that she didn't even use it to commute to SAT, was now backing out, with her familiar friend Shizuka Marikawa behind the wheel. Shizuka. Wearing flat sneakers for driving convenience, Shizuka poked her head out the window when she heard the familiar voice. There stood her friend Minami Rika at the door. She smiled and waved. Rika, you're back? If I didn't come back now, I don't even want to imagine what you'd have done to my house. Minami Rika looked at the unfamiliar faces sitting in the Hummer. Her expression turned more resigned than anything. She couldn't help but facepalm. You going somewhere? Yeah. Siko, Saya, and Rei Miyamoto are all students at Fujimi Academy. I was with them when Lord Shirakawa rescued us. Faced with her longtime friend, Shizuka's joy couldn't be hidden. She'd seen too much death in this apocalyptic world. When she spoke of Shirakawa, her tone was practically dripping with affection. As long as you're safe. Minami Rika glanced at the women inside the car, then focused her gaze on Shirakawa. If there was no mistake, this delicate-looking young man should be the Shirakawa her friend Shizuka said had rescued them. Though she couldn't imagine why the word rescue was necessary, Minami Rika still gave a serious nod of thanks. Thank you. If not for you, finding Shizuka would have been extremely difficult. Just doing what anyone would. Shirakawa didn't seem to mind. His eyes fell on Minami Rika. Long purple hair tied up in a high ponytail revealed her attractive features. She was still wearing her SAT tactical combat uniform. Weapons strapped to her waist, a fitted crew neck shirt that perfectly outlined her excellent figure. Though not as voluptuous as Shizuka Marikawa's. Still, her sun-kissed skin gave off not only a healthy vibe, but even a touch of wildness. So, where are you all heading next? As he asked, Minami Rika's eyes twitched at the large speaker in the backseat. That was her Harman Kardon she spent half a month's salary on. We're following Lord Shirakawa's plan. Shizuka explained seriously. We're using the zombies' extreme sensitivity to sound to lure them into an open area. So the reason there are so few zombies in these streets is because Shirakawa lured them away? Following Shizuka's explanation, Minami Rika was able to piece together a lot. The nearby streets had fewer zombies. Likely because of him. She'd never allowed any man to sit in the passenger seat of her beloved Hummer. But now, she looked at Shirakawa again. He suddenly seemed a lot more agreeable. Drawing the zombies away had no doubt helped many survivors in the area. I'm free right now, so I'll go with you. That way, even if there's danger, we can watch each other's backs. Shizuka looked toward Shirakawa in the front passenger seat. Seeing that he had no objections meant he had accepted Minami Rika's offer to join. She softly said, "Sure. But if you're coming, you'll have to follow Lord Shirakawa's orders. As long as we stick with him, nothing will go wrong." Minami Rika didn't ask why Shizuka was giving such high praise to Shirakawa. She opened the rear car door. Seeing there weren't any weapons inside, she frowned slightly. "Give me a minute. I have plenty of firearms at home. They're still really effective against zombies. One headshot and it's an instant kill." Although Shizuka wanted to say that Lord Shirakawa could handle zombies with ease, Minami Rika didn't give her a chance to explain. She headed straight for the house. Worried her friend might give Shirakawa the wrong impression, Shizuka added, "She's my close friend Minami Rika. She's the captain of the Special Assault Force. Her approach is just cautious. It's fine." Shirakawa didn't seem to mind. In fact, he was seriously considering something. If he wanted to unlock a new profession panel, he still needed 2 more chosen of pleasure. Since Minami Rika was also from the Apocalypse world, could she potentially become one of his divine followers? If all went smoothly, the new blank profession panel could be activated. Minami Rika didn't keep them waiting long. She quickly returned from the house carrying a tactical backpack. A MAC-10 submachine gun. She probably thought it was too reckless to try luring zombies without carrying any weapons. To boost their combat strength, she armed herself fully. "Alright, let's go then." With Shizuka driving the Hummer H2, she was far more composed than she had been the day before. She kept the speed just right. Fast enough to stay ahead of the zombies, slow enough to keep them chasing thanks to the horn's noise. After the cleanup, the number of zombies in this district wasn't too high anymore. Most had already been lured to other areas. Now, they headed into zones swarming with the dead. Didn't think there'd still be this many zombies here. Driving down a wide road, the constantly honking horn kept drawing the zombies in. From all directions. Uncountable zombies charged toward them. Even Minami Rika tensed up. There were easily more than 2,000 zombies here. A sea of death. The virus outbreak was way too extreme. She couldn't help but click her tongue. Just as she was about to ask what they would do next, a powerful force pushed her back against her seat. Shizuka floored the accelerator. The Hummer H2 shot forward, jumped the low curb, and drove straight toward the open square center. Stopping in the spacious central zone. Thanks to their strengthened stats, the girls divided up tasks smoothly, unloading the Harman Kardon speaker and turning the volume to max. The high decibel sound. The range of the sound had expanded significantly, becoming fatally attractive to the undead. Zombies surged in from all directions like a tidal wave. Even Minami Rika, sitting in the back row of Vehicle 523, felt her heart tremble. She gripped the MAC-10 submachine gun tightly, her finger already on the safety, ready to help carve a path out at any moment. That should do it. "Hold on tight, I'm driving now." Even Shizuka Marikawa rarely looked this serious. The moment she started the engine, she floored the gas pedal, causing the car to drift slightly as it accelerated toward the area with the fewest zombies. Watching the zombies outside, Minami Rika's heart stopped momentarily when she saw the empty front passenger seat. Shirakawa hadn't gotten in the car. In a rushed tone, she shouted, "Quick, the zombies haven't swarmed yet. Go pick up Shirakawa now. Don't hesitate, or it'll be too late." But no one in the car responded. The Hummer stopped in a relatively safe area, roughly 500 meters away from Shirakawa. Sako Bujujima, Rei Miyamoto, and the others got out of the SUV, faces full of anticipation. They all looked toward the distant figure standing in the middle of the square. Shirakawa's silhouette, small from afar. Almost as if they were expecting something. Could it be that Shirakawa isn't as kind as he seems? Minami Rika remained silent. This was someone who was willing to sacrifice himself to lure away the zombies and create a safer environment for the others. No matter what. She just couldn't associate the word bad guy with Shirakawa. Seeing Shizuka unmoving while the zombies closed in on him, she finally lost it. Only less than 100 meters remained between the zombies and Shirakawa. "Shizuka, you idiot." As a former SAT Special Forces member, Minami Rika didn't consider herself especially virtuous. But since the keys were still in the ignition, she jumped into the driver's seat without a second thought. Didn't even buckle up. Just started the engine, spun the car around, and sped straight toward the square despite the overwhelming number of zombies that made her scalp tingle. It should still be in time. She had no idea what Shirakawa was thinking. But things shouldn't end like this. Just as she stepped on the gas, Shirakawa's small figure vanished as if into thin air. Only the speaker remained, still blasting noise. Zombies pounced on the spot in droves. Unable to locate him through the sea of undead, Minami Rika slammed her fist into the steering wheel. Why? Why did you do that? You could have lived. There was no answer for her. She even began to wonder if Shizuka was hiding something. But then, Minami Rika looked up and saw the once clear sky engulfed by an enormous swirl of magic energy, tinted through a mysterious filter. Her mind went completely blank. She couldn't even comprehend what was happening. A massive burst of magical energy erupted, glowing in all colors and rising to the sky, its explosion changing even the color of the heavens. So someone. Please tell me what the hell that was. Chapter 61, Masochist Darkness, Please Marry Me. The deafening boom from the explosion completely vaporized every zombie in the blast radius. No staff was used this time. Even so, having gained the profession of godhood and with the boost from Mate Chosen of Pleasure, Shirakawa's magic had reached absurd levels. This is full power explosion magic? Shirakawa didn't know what mana management even meant. With the Archwizard's core skill, Mana Fountain, his maximum mana could be as large as it wanted. It regenerated at the same steady rate. That's the confidence percentage-based regeneration gave him. Take Fujimi Academy as an example. The explosion's power had at least doubled. Enough to wipe out most of the school. When the explosion faded, what was once a flat plaza now had a crater over 200 meters in diameter. Even reinforced concrete couldn't withstand the doubled power of the blast. It was utterly destroyed. Bottomless. Even the concrete at the crater's edge looked slightly melted. Meanwhile, notification after notification appeared on Shirakawa's proficiency panel. You've killed an undead. Experience plus 50, you've killed an undead. Experience plus 50, level up, level 5 level 7, Archwizard level 7, 2,765 out of 100,000, basic skill, explosion magic level 7, 19,050 out of 80,000, level up, level 6 level 9, holy sword wielder level 9, 5,030 out of 90,000, skill points gained, 5, evolution points gained, 5, the experience earned was the same, but the job levels rose differently. As one of the highest tier jobs in the world of Konosuba, Holy Sword Wielder required less experience to level. The same XP that boosted Holy Sword Wielder by 3 levels only advanced Archwizard by 2. All in all, Shirakawa was quite satisfied. With attribute and skill points that could be freely allocated, he could maintain a balanced progression. And the cost? Just half an hour. Not only were 4 of the Chosen of Pleasure here, but the Apocalypse world was easily a better XP farm than even Goblin Slayer's world. Shirakawa dubbed it highly efficient. He was getting used to using explosion magic to clear zombies. It was starting to feel therapeutic, and he began to understand Megaman's obsession with it. He looked ahead. Minami Rika, still dazed, had tried to drive out to save him even in that situation. She really did have a good heart. Maybe that same sense of responsibility she had in the SAT, scoring a 370 in aptitude, was why she had become a team leader. Shirakawa looked at her blank expression and said casually, the undead around here are basically gone. Wanna drive? Sure. The shock wave from the explosion generated a fierce gust of wind, and even Minami Rika, standing fairly close, almost lost her balance. More importantly, her mind had exploded along with it. This wasn't just a matter of being unfamiliar. She still remembered the explosive scene from early that morning. But compared to this, only by facing the explosion directly could one understand the sheer scale of this power. No conventional missile could create this kind of destruction. And, Minami Rika knew this square was built on reinforced concrete. Unless it was a nuclear strike with chained effects, only a low-yield tactical warhead might cause this much damage. More importantly, when she saw Shirakawa's calm, casual expression, she finally understood why Shizuka would describe him as salvation. A walking mini-nuke? Her mouth twitched involuntarily. Just accepting the sudden zombie outbreak and apocalypse had already taken her a long time. Now, out of nowhere, there was this. She didn't even know what questions to ask anymore. Her curiosity boiled, but the topic was so far beyond her understanding. Shizuka, having just admired the explosive spectacle, affectionately grabbed her friend's arm and asked, surprised? It was shocking. Minami Rika shook her head with a complicated expression. Now she finally understood why Shirakawa had stayed behind in the middle of the zombie horde. Shizuka, Sako, and the others remained calm. Because they already knew the truth. Those zombies couldn't hurt Shirakawa in the slightest. Thinking back to how she risked everything to rescue him. Suddenly, she felt like crawling into a hole. Noticing that Shirakawa didn't mind, Shizuka Marikawa didn't bother hiding anything and explained, at first, our thoughts were similar to yours. Hey, if I told you Lord Shirakawa came from another world, would you believe it? I do. With a power that defies common understanding, if Shirakawa were just a psychic from this world, Minami Rika felt like her entire worldview would collapse. She preferred to believe Shirakawa came from another world. Seeing the mood was right, Shizuka Marikawa had no problem pulling her friend Minami Rika into the mix. Even Rei Miyamoto, who hadn't had much interaction, had become a chosen one. Blinking her watery eyes, she tempted directly, "Do you want to have extraordinary abilities?" Extraordinary abilities? Minami Rika hadn't really thought about it before. She turned her gaze to Shirakawa, aware that the opportunity to gain such powers clearly lay with him. But with years of social experience under her belt, she wasn't naive like her friend Shizuka Marikawa, believing there's such a thing as a free lunch. Gaining powers surely came with a price. "What do I have to give?" "You just need to offer complete loyalty." Even after witnessing the terrifying explosion firsthand, Minami Rika managed to stay calm and rational. As for offering complete loyalty, didn't that mean her body, mind, and beliefs all had to be dedicated? She only had a vague concept of supernatural powers and didn't agree right away. "I need to think about it. I can't give you an answer just yet." Staying in the apocalypse world, they quickly finished lunch. Minami Rika didn't talk much with the others, and Shirakawa mostly kept his attention focused on the dimensional group chat. There wasn't much daily chatter in the group, since everyone had lives in their own worlds. Only the goddess of wisdom with neat traits, Aqua. She was the only one who treated the group chat like a social feed, posting her daily life thanks to her loud, showy personality. "Aqua, Blue Ribbon, Shirakawa is part of my party now, you'll never get to make him your follower." "Blue Ribbon? Blue Ribbon, says who?" "Aqua, because teaming up with me, a goddess, is the best option. And everyone in my team has top-tier classes." "Aqua, taking down the Demon King is no big deal. Bronze-level adventurer, so there's a Demon King in Aquasama's world too?" "We also have one in my world. My Sakurajima, maybe every Isekai has a Demon King?" "Blue Ribbon, we only have dungeons here." "Aqua, defeating the Demon King is child's play for us." "Hey, Shirakawa, get out here." "Aqua, we've gathered the team. We even have a Crusader night now." Reading the messages in the chat, Shirakawa was a bit surprised. Based on Aqua's hints, unless he was mistaken, that had to be the masochistic Night Darkness. The party was taking shape quickly, and there were more candidates to recruit: Eris the Thief, Yun Yun of the Crimson Magic Clan. If memory served, even the Royal Lilialis had a thing for being an adventurer. All of them were backup options to pull into the team. As a descendant of heroes, she was dragon-slaying material. Most importantly, she's a 12-year-old Lili. Note, the fuck? Many hands make light work. Especially Princess Alice. Defeating the Demon King would fulfill her wish. Now Shirakawa had a real reason to go slay him. With lunch finished, Shirakawa stopped paying attention to the chat and just told Aqua and the others that he'd head to the Konosuba world for interviews afternoon. Lunch was prepared by the girls. When they returned to Rika's house, they grabbed a bunch of supplies from the supermarket for free. The meal was particularly rich. When the girls sat down, they left the main seat for Shirakawa, which even made Rika feel like she was the guest in her own home. Seeing none of them pick up their chopsticks, Shirakawa didn't know how to complain. With a helpless tone, he said, "Let's eat." Right. Especially after hearing Shirakawa say that, Rika felt even more depressed. Did no one care about the homeowner's feelings? The food was excellent. Shirakawa mainly enjoyed the process of eating, especially with a beautiful girl next to him helping him with dishes. He felt surrounded. There was no need for extra explanations. The stockpile of supplies would last days. The rest was just Suko training the others. It's about time to head out. He decisively used the otherworld teleport anchor, aiming for the Adventurer Guild as planned. Thanks to earlier coordination, Aqua, Megaman and the soon-to-join Darkness were already waiting in a corner. Seeing Shirakawa's familiar figure, Aqua stood up excitedly and waved, "Over here. This is Darkness. She's a crusader, perfectly fitting for our needs." Shirakawa didn't speak. He just looked at the tall figure ahead. Compared to Aqua and Megaman, she was practically a Lion Fang knight from a fantasy RPG. A mature woman with a flawless figure, obvious even in armor. Her long golden hair was tied into a ponytail, its tips draping over her perfect profile. Her whole aura was stern and cold. "Hello. You must be Captain Shirakawa. Just call me Darkness." She could feel his eyes boldly scanning her. Darkness's heart started pounding. And this was just an interview. Yet he was already doing this much. What's worse, Shirakawa wasn't bad looking at all. He even fit her ideal type perfectly. Especially the way he stared at her so openly. She couldn't help but feel anticipation building. But she still forced a cold tone. "I heard your team's missing a knight. I wonder if I meet your needs." Needs. The moment she said that, Shirakawa nearly lost it. If someone else heard that, they'd think he was recruiting that kind of knight. It was midday, and no other adventurers were around. Keeping a straight face, he turned to Aqua and Megaman. I'll be testing Darkness's functionality in all areas now. Okay. Without thinking too much, Aqua, eager to form the team and defeat the Demon King, pulled Megaman away from the guild, leaving them alone. The atmosphere got a bit awkward. You could even see a faint blush on Darkness's cheeks and how she nervously clenched her sleeves. She blinked her watery eyes. Team interview. This cheerful-looking boy in front of her. Would he do something strange? Weird? Should she resist? Sensing Darkness's state keenly, Shirakawa's eyes turned odd. A masochistic knight like her. Could she really get excited just by being alone with him? Since this was about teaming up, he casually said, what we need now is a frontline knight to attract enemy aggro. It'll involve taking lots of hits. I can do that. Darkness answered instantly and firmly. If it were about defeating monsters, that'd be hard. But defense? She was confident. They hadn't even faced monsters yet, but she was already fantasizing about being used as a pawn by her captain. Just thinking about it got her excited. Shirakawa couldn't even find a way to complain. He went on, we're going to take on some tough quests, so I need you to obey my... I understand. Before he could finish, Darkness interrupted. Treated mercilessly by the adventurer captain. Discarded like trash when she's no longer useful. Her masochistic side was completely exposed. Even her ears turned red. Absolute obedience to your orders. Shirakawa could feel that Darkness's mindset had shifted into something strange. No matter what kind of request was made, in this girl's eyes, it would probably be some kind of shameful play. Shirakawa continued calmly. We're a fixed team now, so you're not allowed to interact with any other adventurer parties. This is the legendary imprisonment play. Just imagining that kind of scene made Darkness flush deeply red. She panted lightly, actively grabbing Shirakawa's arm with a pleading look in her eyes. And also, I accept. Before he could even finish, Darkness couldn't wait to nod and agree. Just from this brief conversation, she had already realized it. A future without joining Shirakawa's party was not a future she wanted. Absolute obedience wouldn't be a problem at all. Especially when she picked up on the key detail that the party might soon be taking on very difficult quests. Darkness studied Shirakawa seriously again. He looked youthful and handsome, and didn't even have the most basic adventurer equipment. She even began imagining the scene of a failed quest. Him becoming a useless bum barely getting by, unable to pay off the debt for his equipment, and drinking all day, refusing to work, blaming society for everything, and smashing empty bottles in frustration. Hey, Darkness. If you don't have money to buy for my drink, get a job and earn some. That kind of loser man was her perfect ideal marriage partner. Staring at the now silent Darkness, Shirakawa could feel the sense of offense in the passionate gleam of her blue eyes. But, considering she was a masochistic, perverted knight, he quickly let it go. He originally wanted to recruit Darkness as a party member anyway, and this so-called interview was just for show. Shirakawa's expression remained calm as he casually said, I've looked into your overall information. In all aspects, you fit my needs perfectly. Are they really needs? Just imagining it made Darkness tremble uncontrollably. She couldn't even dare to think how amazing it would be for something like that to happen to her. Unable to suppress the impulses in her heart, Darkness pleaded with anticipation in her eyes, please. Please marry me. No, please let me join your party. Shirakawa. Chapter 62, A General of the Demon King's Army. Who the hell did this? Hearing the first part of what Darkness had blurted out, Shirakawa finally figured out why he had felt so offended by the look in her eyes earlier. It was that familiar, awful personality again. Still, he didn't bother arguing. This seemingly goddess-like woman was actually a perverted masochist behind the scenes. And somehow, she saw him as equally twisted. That kind of mindset was just bizarre. Even though he was a god with some rather twisted abilities, if used correctly, even the most abstract of jobs could yield positive results. And without a doubt, Darkness was the perfect candidate chosen by the god of pleasure. Someone who sought ultimate bliss through all kinds of extreme play. He approved. Looking at Darkness, who was blushing and full of anticipation, Shirakawa naturally didn't refuse her request to join. She was a predetermined candidate anyway. Welcome to the party, Darkness. Thank you. Barely able to hold back her excitement, Darkness asked eagerly, when do we start doing real adventurer commissions? Captain, you don't have any equipment yet. Do you want me to help prepare some? Judging by Shirakawa's current appearance, he was clearly someone who had reincarnated into this other world. His class seemed to be a top-tier arch-wizard. And for that kind of class, the necessary staff alone would cost at least 1 million Eris. Spending her family's money so freely to support a fledgling but clearly twisted adventurer. Darkness's fingers were trembling from the excitement. She was truly looking forward to it. Not for now. Shirakawa only had a basic understanding of the equipment system in the Konosuba world. For example, the most valuable item Megumin owned was her staff. It boosted her magical output significantly. As for other gear, the armor Darkness was wearing was apparently crafted by the Crimson Demon clan blacksmiths, with excellent defensive properties. And explosion magic didn't necessarily require a staff to cast. It just reduced the power slightly. He still wasn't sure whether his own stat panel had any similarities with the rules of this world. Thinking about this, Shirakawa glanced at the slightly shy Darkness beside him and said casually, "Darkness, could I borrow your adventurer card?" Huh? Sure. Although she didn't fully understand Shirakawa's intentions, Darkness handed over the card. He probably wanted to compare professions. But she regretted it the moment she handed it over. Her full name was written on the card. Thinking about having to absolutely obey the captain's orders. And the pleasure of being controlled. Darkness's cheeks blushed hard, the shameful thrill creating constant sensory feedback. Joining Shirakawa's team was the best decision of her life. The adventurer card was made using a special magic device that imprinted the registrant's information on it. Shirakawa closely examined Darkness's stats. Name, Darkness. Lalatina Dustiness Ford class, Crusader level, 13 Constitution, 9 Agility, 5 Strength, 11 Intelligence, 8 Magic Power, 160 Skills, Decoy level 10, Defense boost level 16, Status resistance level 15. A quick glance showed that nothing seemed out of place. After all, she was a level 13 Crusader. In the anime, she could take a direct hit from Megumin's explosion and still survive. So her attributes and defenses were definitely impressive. The skill list also emphasized defensive and resistance abilities. But the most eye-catching part was Decoy, level 10. Activating this skill essentially meant taunting all enemies into attacking her, pulling their attention completely away from others. As for what he thought of that? After a short silence, Shirakawa said calmly, "Lalatina, your stats are a perfect match for the party's frontline role. Please. Please don't call me by that name. Just call me Darkness." Being called by her full name made Darkness's face light up bright red. She became slightly shy, but still pleaded sincerely. "All right then, Lalatina." Ah. A shameful domination play. Something she had never imagined was now unfolding. Darkness crossed her arms over her chest, looking embarrassed but secretly enjoying it. Shirakawa was definitely twisted. And she really liked him for it. We'll probably need to expand the party eventually. Right now, it's just me, Aqua, and Megumin. You should know them. This interview was mostly for formality. Darkness's position was already set. He wasn't planning on keeping Aqua and Megumin waiting too long. He explained this briefly. No one was more excited than Aqua. This other world was nothing compared to heaven, and the only way back was to defeat the Demon King. Now that the party was essentially formed, she said enthusiastically, "To celebrate the formation of our party, let's go have a feast at the tavern tonight. What do you think?" Megumin, who was currently poorer than poor, wisely chose to stay quiet. The meals she'd had in the past 2 days were all provided by Shirakawa. No problem. Shirakawa was still fairly interested in the food of the Konosuba world. After all, they already knew how to cook with monster meat, and had basic seasonings, too. As for the cost of meals, it used the same currency exchange rate as in his original world. 1 Eris roughly equaled 1 yen in purchasing power. He decisively turned his gaze to Darkness. Her blushing cheeks hadn't completely faded. Facing Shirakawa's gaze, Darkness gave a slight nod and said, "I don't mind. You misunderstood. Actually, none of us have any money. You should have some, right?" When dealing with the masochistic Darkness, being too polite was actually a punishment to her. So Shirakawa decided to reward her in the most direct way possible. They hadn't accepted any quests yet to earn Eris. Once finances improved, he could deduct the food expenses from Aqua's share. Very reasonable. "Yes. I do." Having just joined the party and already experiencing the captain's bullying, Darkness, satisfied both physically and mentally, pulled out her coin pouch. It was full of gold coins. Since there would definitely be drinks while waiting, she had already begun to look forward to Shirakawa possibly getting drunk and acting inappropriately. There has to be drinks, right? A celebration banquet without alcohol just feels incomplete. "Don't worry, I've got enough money." "Fine, just don't let it interfere with serious matters." Although Shirakawa didn't understand why Darkness was being so enthusiastic, Her attitude felt a bit off. Still, he didn't outright refuse. Following Aqua's lead, they looked like a pretty normal adventurer party from the outside. At noon, they arrived at Axel's most famous tavern. Quite a few adventurers were already gathered there. When Shirakawa, Darkness, and Aqua entered the tavern, they immediately drew attention from the other adventurers. The main reason? It had to be the attention-grabbing Aqua. As an archpriest with the highest ranking class, she'd rejected invitations from all adventurer parties, claiming she was a goddess and would only join a hero's party. A high-ranking archpriest, skilled at party performances. And those who had previously teamed up with Megaman knew she was a weirdo Crimson Daemon girl who could only use explosion magic once a day. Darkness, on the other hand, was relatively unknown. So that left just her and the somewhat oddly dressed Shirakawa looking like the only normal members of the team. Hey, I recommend the fried frog legs. They taste pretty great. Kind of like the steak from your world, Shirakawa. Then we'll take 4 fried frog legs and some lunch sets. For drinks, let's get sparkling wine. Make sure it's chilled. Total cost? Just get the money from Darkness. Not the slightest hint of politeness. Aqua tossed the bill to Darkness without hesitation and was just about to rally the new team for an epic declaration of conquest, when a figure appeared from across the room, walking toward them. Darkness, have you finally found a party you like? Short silver hair, a faint brown scar on her cheek, wearing a green jacket over a black chest strap. Her appearance was somewhat boyish. However, her slightly flat figure still gave away her identity as a girl. Chris greeted her friend Darkness warmly, then gave a brief glance at her former superior Aqua and the Crimson Demon girl Megaman. Lastly, her gaze landed on Shirakawa. He looked unfamiliar, but given Aqua's presence, she figured he must be another person reincarnated into this world. This is my friend, Chris. Darkness introduced her only remaining close friend to the team and didn't forget to ask the tavern staff, please add one more meal. Aqua, not the brightest, didn't recognize the silver-haired girl and greeted her cheerfully. Still not fully acquainted, Megaman was much more reserved, sitting properly with her hands pressing down her skirt between her legs, waiting for lunch to be served. Hello, just call me Shirakawa. Of course Shirakawa was familiar with Chris. In this world, she played the role of a thief. But her real identity? She was a goddess from the heavens. The goddess of fortune, responsible for many aspects of this world. Even the local currency and church were named after her. Chris. She had a gentle and kind personality, generous, occasionally mischievous, and a responsible, beautiful goddess. Just a bit modest in figure. Hello. Please take care of Darkness. Chris offered her most heartfelt kindness to her follower Darkness. As for Shirakawa's team, she trusted them. Especially with Aqua in the group. No way things could go too wrong. This way, Darkness wouldn't feel lonely with just one friend. Of course. No one could resist a beautiful masochist. Besides, Darkness's personality made her the perfect candidate to be a future goddess of pleasure. Shirakawa nodded seriously. I won't join your party meal then. Darkness, do your best. I believe you'll get along with your new team. Chris had no intention of staying longer. If Aqua recognized her real identity, it would bring trouble. Besides, Chris was also secretly looking forward to what would happen. With a team like Shirakawa and Aqua, Axel City was bound to become much livelier. I'm off. Watching Chris leave, Shirakawa clearly liked her more than Aqua. Right now, though, there wasn't a good opportunity to invite her into the party. But there was no rush. Looking at the lunch being served by the waiters, even though he'd already eaten in the apocalypse world, he didn't want to miss this meal. Sampling the cuisine of this world felt great to Shirakawa. At least better than the flavors in Goblin Slayer's world. He still didn't have any money in this world. The most urgent task was to earn some Eris, and the fastest way was to take on subjugation quests. Preferably the most dangerous ones. The bigger the storm, the bigger the reward. Hey, this dragon subjugation quest looks great. The bounty is a whopping 50 million Eris, Shirakawa. She pointed to the highest ranking job on the bounty board. The blood-red skull on the flyer clearly marked it as extremely dangerous. All the remaining jobs were high difficulty. Luna, the receptionist at the guild, walked over apologetically and explained, sorry, there's a Demon King General nearby. They've taken this area as a base. Because of the influence of the general, the weaker monsters suitable for beginner adventurers have all gone into hiding. Listening to Luna's explanation, Shirakawa understood that this was normal plot development. As for why the Demon King General, the Headless Knight, showed up in Axel. The reason. He glanced at Aqua. Her holy aura from falling from the sky had attracted the Demon King's army to investigate. She was the root of all problems. Now that he had a grasp on the situation, Aqua calmly turned her head and said to Shirakawa, How about we go subjugate that Demon King General? That's a really dangerous move. Before Shirakawa could answer, Luna hurried to stop them. A newly formed party of beginner adventurers going to fight a Demon King General? That would be suicide. However, just then, the guild's magic loudspeaker activated. A rough voice echoed, recruiting all adventurers, emergency alert. Emergency alert. All adventurers are to arm themselves and gather at the city gate in full battle gear. The Demon King's general is launching a sudden assault. Shirakawa. Shirakawa. No one was more excited than Aqua. She grabbed Shirakawa's hand and shouted, "This is our chance to make a name for ourselves as newbie adventurers. We'll earn tons of bounty rewards." Ignoring Luna's worried expression, Shirakawa could already guess the situation even with his eyes closed. It was because of his own involvement. Aqua and Megaman went to blow up the Headless Horseman's castle every day. Finally, the Demon King's general, the Headless Knight, unable to endure the humiliation any longer, wanted to come to Axel to teach that mentally ill mage. Thinking of this, he looked at Megaman beside him, who was brimming with fighting spirit. She didn't seem to realize the reason behind all this. Aqua was already raring to go. Even Darkness looked eager. At this point, Shirakawa realized that aside from solving the problem, he had no other choice. This time, their opponent was a general of the Demon King's army. That meant the opponent wouldn't be weak. Relying on the stat boosts from his god-class profession, combined with the tripled enhancement effect from magic release, he couldn't help but wonder just how powerful he currently was in battle. Shirakawa found himself growing curious. He shook his head lightly and said in a relaxed tone, "Since the Demon King's general has come right to us, this is the perfect chance to test our strength. Let's make him the first target our party defeats. If you dare to come, we'll make sure you leave in utter defeat." Coming to the world of Konosuba, things were really starting to look up. Without hesitation, he decisively led the female members of his adventuring party toward Axel City Gate, where many adventurers had already gathered. The sense of unity was strong. And in the distance, appearing in Shirakawa's line of sight, was a Demon King army general dressed in black armor, riding a black horse with a red mane, holding his own head in his hand. His eyes burned with intense resentment as he looked at the gathered adventurers. The Headless Knight, Beldia, finally lost his patience and roared angrily. Every day. Every day. Boom. Boom. Who the hell are the idiots blowing up my castle?" Hearing this hopeless rant, Shirakawa turned to Megaman beside him, just as he was about to say something. A notification from the dimensional chat group rang in his ears. Chapter 63, As Death Takes Interest. Darkness craves punishment when he selected view livestream details. A prompt drew Shirakawa's attention. He didn't expect there to be a way to set viewing restrictions. In the past, live streams triggered by rescue missions didn't have any viewing thresholds. Maybe it was because rescue missions already gave group points. Considering the current number of group members, the only way to earn points was through daily check-ins. I'll set it to 5 points. With the points he currently had, Shirakawa could already travel to the Danmaki world and leave an anchor point there, so he decisively made the setting. But just after setting the live stream, Aqua, who looked very eager, leaned over. Considering there were other adventurers nearby, her voice lowered. "Hey, you turned on the dimensional chat group live stream too? I set mine to a 100-point viewing threshold. I mean, I can't let it be too cheap, right? Otherwise people would think I'm a cheap goddess." Shirakawa really wanted to complain. Who even had 100 points right now? Maybe Rizelia, who joined the rescue mission. They probably already used their points to boost their stats. He hadn't warned this idiot because he was worried she might set the threshold too low. But from the looks of it, that wasn't necessary. Meanwhile, in the dimensional chat group, as the live stream went live, some even thought it was a triggered rescue mission. But to their surprise, it was a manually activated live stream. The activity in the group spiked instantly. Currently available live streams: normal high school student, 5 points required Aqua, 100 points required Blue Ribbon, Aqua. Shirakawa is also in your world, right? The live stream prompt came at the exact same time. Future Holy Sword Wielder, so why is there such a huge gap in viewing cost? Misakurajima, maybe. Aqua thinks that as a goddess, the viewing cost should be higher. Asuna, I think the normal high school student is the better value. 1 day of check-ins is enough for 2 viewings. Quite the bargain. Ice Queen, only 5 points to watch a fight. Hope it's exciting. Dimensional chat group member Misakurajima has entered the live stream. Dimensional chat group member Gabriel has entered the live stream. Dimensional chat group member Ice Queen has entered the live stream. As more notifications of people joining came in, Shirakawa ignored them and turned his attention to Megaman beside him, who was clearly flustered from being called out. In a calm tone, Shirakawa said, Megaman. Avoiding eye contact, Megaman absolutely refused to admit she was the mentally ill mage in question. She clutched her staff tightly. Just the adventurer's gazes made her want to crawl into a hole. Let alone her party members. With her oversized mage hat covering her face, it was impossible to see her expression. She wasn't the type to hide behind others. Even if the opponent was a Demon King general. Gripping her staff, she stepped forward toward the distance. Though sweating bullets, her eyes were firm. Just as she was about to deliver a dramatic speech, Shirakawa pulled her back by the arm. Even Darkness, who was into weird plays, moved in close. Her eyes gleamed oddly. Was Shirakawa about to hand over the Lilai party member to the Demon King's army in front of everyone? Let's take care of the Demon King general first. I can do it. Megaman responded calmly. Leave it to me. Shirakawa didn't pay much attention. He shifted his gaze to Beldia, the headless knight, who was still ranting his grievances in the distance. In a way, this was probably the strongest opponent he had encountered since joining the Dimensional Chat group. In the original story, Beldia had demonstrated solid strength, capable of summoning undead and mastering royal sword techniques. He was originally a knight captain who was wrongly killed, and his ability to throw his head made him able to observe the battlefield with 0 blind spots. As for his strength, to Shirakawa's current self, he wasn't even troublesome. Activating magic release and leveraging his new profession's traits, his total stats had already reached absurd levels. This increase was based on his base stats, and with most approaching 100, Shirakawa briefly experienced a transcendent state. His thoughts extremely sharp. If only, magic release, could also increase mana reserves. Having browsed Darkness Adventurer card, Shirakawa had a good understanding of his current power. In Konosuba's world, he was definitely at the top, right under the gods. Even his mana seemed modest. Compared to someone like Megaman, who looked like she had lots of magic, she probably didn't match his level. It's just that he lacked versatility. He needed to find the right opportunity to use explosion magic. Otherwise, it could destroy the entire Axel town. As for Aqua, the useless goddess, against a headless knight with high divine resistance, there wasn't much hope. Flood summoning? That would just make things worse. Thinking this, Shirakawa turned to the eager-looking Aqua beside him. Buff me. That's all I need from you. It wasn't that she was lazy. As long as the party could defeat a Demon King general on its own, Aqua didn't mind. When it came to actual combat, she did show some traits of an archpriest. Without being assigned a role, Darkness eagerly asked, what about me? Should I draw the Demon King general's attention? You can. With his overall stats boosted, Shirakawa decisively summoned the Holy Sword, all things of creation, which radiated violet energy. This wasn't like the Type Moon world. With a natural suppression against strong individuals, he could fully unleash his power without restraint. This could be considered a deliberate arrangement for the team's direction. The direct effect brought by exceeding physical stats. Even one of the Demon King's generals, Beldia, was shocked. The reason he hadn't invaded Axel was mainly due to the strength of the adventurers here. They were simply too weak. What he didn't expect. The sudden appearance of Shirakawa gave him the feeling of a powerful presence. Beldia's subconscious told him that this adventurer's level was definitely over 60. So you're the strongest adventurer in Axel? I didn't expect such a town, known for gathering newbie adventurers, to have someone like you. In that case, I'll have to go all out. He was still quite particular about knightly etiquette. He summoned his undead army right away, without using the death pronouncement magic. Beldia unsheathed the great sword from his waist. The ground emitted a black aura of resentment. Undead knights were summoned. Kill everyone in town. I'll handle the strong adventurer myself. Following Beldia's orders, the undead emitting a dense aura of resentment charged toward Axel. But the expected battle didn't happen. They just kept chasing Aqua alone. The dust raised as they ran unsettled the adventurers who were nervously prepared, including the members of the Dimensional Chat group. Everyone watching the live broadcast from Shirakawa's point of view was stunned. Sakura Jimimai. Even if she lowers the price costs to 1 point, I still feel watching Aqua's livestream is a loss. Blue Ribbon, why doesn't Aqua use her purification skill while being chased? If I remember right, isn't she a goddess? Asuna? Even though she is a goddess, she doesn't seem very reliable? Future Holy Sword wielder, that headless knight looks strong. Shirakawa should be able to handle it. I feel like his Holy Sword has gotten stronger again. It kind of feels surreal? But remembering that Aqua has an abstract and absurd style, Shirakawa instantly relaxed. He lost interest in watching the battle. Aqua's blessing lasts for 10 minutes. There'd been no problem ending the fight in that time. As he adjusted to his greatly increased physical stats, His legs suddenly exerted force and he vanished on the spot. When he reappeared, Shirakawa was already in front of Beldia, both hands gripping his holy sword, pouring in magic as he swung down. A blood-red swordora instantly poured down onto the ground. A nearly materialized slash. Even Beldia was shocked. More so by Shirakawa's explosive speed, which far exceeded human limits. His subconscious tried to block with his great sword, but the solidified slash formed from immense magic shattered it directly. As Beldia subconsciously raised his head, now high in the air, he saw the armor on his body break from the slash. Even his undead body was sent flying dozens of meters. The grotesque wound made Beldia feel intense pain. This was an attack empowered by holy resistance. Most critically, he found he could no longer control his body. Falling like a free object toward the ground, he was about to crash, but saw that Shirakawa didn't intend to attack further. Turn-based? But looking at Shirakawa, standing still far ahead, Beldia had a bad feeling. A vast magic power beyond imagination. It was almost material. The previously clear sky was altered by this overwhelming force. And it felt incredibly familiar. Explosion magic. But it was the Pro Max version. Even as an undead, Beldia could feel the aura of death. He tried to use teleportation magic to escape. But his heavily wounded body couldn't move at all. This was true explosion magic, a long-lost ultimate attack skill. As the magic detonated completely, the word strong was no longer enough. It was true annihilation. The intense explosion caused the ground to shake even for adventurers far away. A heatwave and shockwave swept out, heading straight for Axel. This Megaman, who originally wanted to cast explosion magic herself, looked at the dazzling sight. Especially when Shirakawa took her hand. A faint blush appeared on her face. Her eyes were full of longing. She had poured all her SP into explosion magic. What she wanted to achieve was exactly what she saw before her eyes. Art. Is explosion. Being able to team up with Shirakawa, also a user of explosion magic, Megaman suddenly felt quite lucky. This is Shirakawa's full strength? Darkness was stunned. The undead knight's appearance had stopped her from carrying out the team's plan. And after the explosion, as the smoke cleared, a bottomless crater was all that remained in the distance. There was no trace of the headless knight. The undead who had been chasing Aqua. Without their summoner and cut off from magic, they collapsed where they stood. She finally understood why even a Demon King general like the Headless Knight would call Shirakawa the strongest adventurer after meeting him. So, to be dominated by such an overwhelming force. Darkness, you need to prepare in advance. She kept reminding herself, eyes burning with desire, and stepped forward toward Shirakawa's distant figure, wondering if she'd be punished. She was looking forward to it. It's already over? The adventurers behind, who had been ready for a desperate fight, didn't expect things to end so smoothly. A completely unknown powerhouse cleanly eliminated a powerful general of the Demon King's army and ensured Axel's safety. Even the mood shifted in a short time. Back to being relaxed and cheerful. From Shirakawa's live perspective, the battle was actually very short. Everyone in the dimensional chat group watching it still hadn't processed it. It was just. He disappeared, then slashed the Headless Knight, completely disabling him. Then came the familiar bombardment stage. Sakurajimamai, even though it's the second time I've seen this, is this really magical human can use? Future Holy Sword Wielder, when we first started missions, Shirakawa was just a normal high schooler. How many days has it even been? Future Holy Sword Wielder, I feel like there's no way to catch up. Gabriel? Ice Queen, the Holy Sword. Is it something like an Imperial arm? And that explosion? If he's just a normal high schooler, he's insanely strong. Railgun, I can't sense any energy from Shirakawa. I can't calculate anything. Is it some kind of special shielding? Ice Queen, even stronger than I expected. I wonder if there's a chance to fight him. So this is magic from another world? The Headless Knight was already defeated. As Deeth closed the livestream window of the dimensional chat group. Even though it cost 5 points. She felt it was worth it. Before joining the dimensional chat group, as Deeth thought no one in her military or world could interest her. But there were such strong people in other worlds too. A goddess like Aqua, and Shirakawa, who claimed to be just a normal high schooler. They both intrigued her greatly. So is there any way to spar with them? You'd have to use the dimensional chat group's interworld teleport anchor to go to their world to spar. Bit troublesome. As Deeth closed the chat group. Returning to her Ice Queen demeanor, only otherworldly powerhouses could currently interest her. You have successfully defeated the Demon King's general, Beldia. Gained EXP plus 20,000, gained reputation points plus 1, it was a good amount of EXP, but not enough to level up. Looking at the crater in the distance and finding no sign of Beldia. Shirakawa figured the body was probably vaporized. An unexpected reward. Helping Axel eliminate a Demon King General, earning 1 reputation point. For now, there were no classes needing a level breakthrough. Temporarily, it could be saved up. Reserved for the new profession. He deactivated the active magic output effect. As his mana was completely depleted, the recovery effect became more significant. There wasn't even a trace of mourning for the Headless Knight's death. And the next person to arrive at the battlefield was the masochistic pervert knight, Darkness. There were no other adventurers around. She seemed to have let go of many things. Her slightly flushed cheeks already revealed her current state. And this was just after she had joined the party. She hadn't even completed the captain's request. She was guilty. Shirakawa. I'm sorry I didn't carry out your instructions. I failed to draw the Headless Knight's attention. Though she was apologizing, her eyes were strange, and she was even breathing heavily. Darkness spoke longingly, please. Please. Please punish me severely. Huh? Shirakawa couldn't help the twitch at the corner of his mouth, and he felt a question mark forming on his forehead. But from an objective point of view, Darkness's current state was very fitting to become one of the chosen of pleasure. Faced with Darkness, who proactively requested punishment, naturally he wouldn't pass up the chance. Punishment, huh? Yeah, I guess you do deserve some. So. First, take off your armor. Chapter 64, Train Darkness. Then offer up your loyalty. Shirakawa clearly understood Darkness's extreme masochistic tendencies. Although a bit twisted, it was honestly pretty problematic. Her attitude in admitting fault was commendable. Failing to carry out an assigned command, craving punishment to ease her guilt. Her face was serious, but her eyes. There was something off about them. Are right here? Darkness nervously glanced at the adventurers about 100 meters behind her. If she took off her armor here, she'd definitely be seen. Was he really serious? She suddenly realized the thoughts she had in her head before were far too innocent. As expected of the captain, she had recognized this kind of public play and twisted game. She absolutely loved it. Alright, I didn't complete the captain's instructions. It's only right that I be punished. Darkness could hear her heart pounding violently. Just thinking that Shirakawa's gaze would soon be on her chest, with adventurers behind her. It was too exciting. Are you looking forward to it? Noticing Darkness's attitude, Shirakawa started to doubt whether this woman was actually anticipating it. Watching her remove her armor, underneath, she wore a black, thread-like shirt. What Darkness considered lewd was, from a man's perspective, an explosively attractive figure. Completely exposed in front of him. Since she was chosen by the god of pleasure, even if he were to grant himself some benefit, he had to find a proper in. He activated the divine skill, placing his palm on her stomach. A soft pink light gradually sank into her body. Ah! She had never been in close contact with a man before. Especially not like this. Feeling Shirakawa's fingers trace her skin, Darkness shut her eyes tightly, as if jolted by electricity. Her body trembled lightly. This was just the beginning of the punishment. Touching her stomach. Was he going to strip her completely in front of all those adventurers? Just when she was ready for more, she realized he hadn't continued. She opened her eyes in confusion, as if to ask, why stop? Was that all the punishment she was getting? Her tone turned even more determined, righteously declaring, this was just defeating a Demon King's officer. If we face more dangerous missions later. So, please let me fully understand my mistake. Please punish me thoroughly. Current chosen of pleasure, 9. Overall attribute enhancement, 90%. Even if Darkness was a follower of Eris, this much wouldn't bother her. Shirakawa glanced over the unsatisfied knight and calmly reminded her, take a look at your stomach. What do you mean? The development she expected hadn't happened. Darkness looked down regretfully and gently lifted her black thread-like shirt. What she saw made her freeze on the spot. Her previously fair and slightly toned abdomen now had a glowing pink and dark purple butterfly tattoo. She touched it lightly with her finger. She could feel a strange sensation. So Shirakawa's so-called punishment was marking her with this strange sigil? Most crucially, she knew what this dark purple butterfly mark was. It was a lewd crest. It was just one encounter, and she had already been treated like this by Shirakawa. What would happen next? Darkness couldn't even imagine. But she was definitely looking forward to it. In terms of appearance and personality, Shirakawa perfectly matched her ideal marriage partner. If she had to point out a flaw, it was that he was too strong. In that brief moment, she even wished Shirakawa were just an ordinary man. She tried to suppress the smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. I can't accept this. It's the punishment I deserve. This is. Well, it's close to what you're thinking. Technically, it's the mark of the chosen of pleasure. You're no longer a follower of the Eris Church. As a chosen of pleasure, loyalty must be absolute. To prevent the effects from fading, Shirakawa found it necessary to explain clearly to Darkness. Instead, you will now be a follower of my Pleasure Church. The Church of the God of Pleasure would be called the Pleasure Church. Shirakawa thought that sounded reasonable enough. Seeing Darkness dazed, he took the chance before the adventurers came closer to explain. Aqua probably never told you about me. To be accurate, I'm not someone who just reincarnated into this world the way you think. As for how I got here, I won't reveal that. You can think of it as me coming to your world to find a suitable seed, to bring them into my Pleasure Church. Silent, listening to his words, Darkness's expression became surprisingly calm after a moment. She asked, Is this a forced stripping of my faith? Kind of. Our Dustiness family has always been devoted followers of Eris. And now I'm betraying the goddess who has always watched over me. Betraying my church, my faith. A person like me should be despised. But I'm willing to bear that. Darkness's tone grew increasingly impassioned. Yet despite her words, her face didn't seem serious at all. In the end, she looked at Shirakawa a bit shyly. If this were some anime, her eyes would probably have heart shapes in them. She asked excitedly, So, how do I qualify as a proper chosen of pleasure? It's simple. It was hard to imagine Darkness's mental state now. Shirakawa smirked slightly. Offer me your body, your heart, and your faith. And then, offer me your complete loyalty. Okay. So, do we start now? It wasn't that her identity as a chosen of pleasure had affected her. It was more accurate to say her threshold had been raised infinitely. Darkness was simply curious. Since she was to offer her body, heart, and faith. If it had to happen now, she thought it would be inappropriate. But if Shirakawa, as a god, truly wished to experience that feeling, she could wait. I won't be leaving this world anytime soon. Since you truly want to offer everything, let's book a room at the inn tonight. I will. She even had to pay for the room herself. But Darkness didn't mind one bit. In fact, she was already looking forward to what would happen tonight. On behalf of our Adventurers Guild, I offer you the highest respect. If it weren't for Lord Shirakawa, the entire city of Axel would have been slaughtered by the Headless Knight from the Demon King's army. The guild receptionist, Luna, wore a gentle smile on her face. She had never expected that a challenge which had stumped countless adventurers would be solved by a completely unknown newcomer. She picked up the bounty tray the guild had prepared in advance and, somewhat reluctantly, handed it to Shirakawa. Luna continued, This is the bounty for defeating a Demon King's army officer. A total of 200 million Eris. You don't need to worry about the aftermath of the battle. Many adventurers and residents have started repairing the roads on their own after hearing of your deeds. Thank you. Shirakawa accepted the heavy tray filled with Eris. His experience in this world of Konosuba wasn't bad. It lacked the usual political scheming. More of a crazy but carefree vibe. He earned 45 points from the group chat live broadcast, received 200 million Eris, and even had help from adventurers and residents with the cleanup. Overall, quite a decent haul. He even gained a rare point of reputation. Once he maxed out his divine class, he could carry over the class breakthrough to his next job. Shirakawa glanced at the crowd of teammates and adventurers gathered in the guild and smiled as he said, Tonight, we drink at the tavern. My treat. Then, the atmosphere on the scene suddenly became heated. Even Aqua started showing off her banquet skill, elegant song and dance. Which she was best at. Shirakawa actually had a good impression of this world. Glancing at the receptionist Luna next to him, he took the opportunity. Fresh off slaying a Demon King's officer. To ask, Luna, do you happen to have any spare adventurer registration tools the guild could sell? We do. Though puzzled by the question, Luna still smiled. After all, this man had saved Axel. She explained, normally, registering and getting appraised as an adventurer only cost 50,000 Eris. No one would ever think of buying one of those tools. They're just too expensive. Costing a full 100 million Eris. And what's more, they must be linked to the guild's registry to function properly. Only then could you officially accept commissions. Even if Shirakawa used a magical device to measure someone's stats, becoming a proper adventurer still required paying the fee. Only then would they be recognized. The price is rather steep, and the tool is really only good as a collector's item. Are you sure you need one, Lord Shirakawa? Of course. Though only a collector's item in this world, the tool would be useful back in the real world. Or the apocalypse world. It could help many people awaken their abilities. If he only saw his followers as tools for growing stronger, this wouldn't be necessary. But women like Yumeko Mira and Shizuka Marikawa. They were his wings. The foundation for his future harem. Not to mention, they were also his believers. Spending 100 million years? Totally worth it. With a smile, Shirakawa said, then please package one for me, Big Sis Luna. Take the cost directly from the bounty. This is the least I can do. No one disliked being called Big Sister. Especially not by a handsome and powerful adventurer. Luna, being a real onsen herself, didn't mind at all and nodded with a smile. As she left, Aqua, having finished her banquet dance, sneaked over curiously after overhearing their conversation. She asked, full of curiosity, Shirakawa, why did you buy a magic tool like that? For my collection. Oh, well, it does look pretty fancy. Aqua didn't think much of it. Her attention was elsewhere. Most of the bounty had already been taken away by Luna. Rubbing her hands together expectantly, she figured she'd help lure the undead knight away during the fight and even cast blessing skills. That should count for something, right? Shirakawa, since we're a team, shouldn't the bounty be split? I've already booked a 100,000 Eris tab at Tavern. No problem. Shirakawa wouldn't be stingy with his teammates. He still needed to find a Crimson Demon craftsman to make a wand he was happy with. That would require some investment. He turned to Aqua and said casually, the team needs new equipment and a place to stay. 3 million Eris for each member, okay? No problem. Aqua knew Shirakawa wasn't someone you could easily fool. She was already thrilled to get 3 million Eris. Even the fanciest sparkling wine. She could buy over 100 bottles. When it came to the goddess of water, Shirakawa really didn't know what to say. He took the opportunity to remind her, by the way, can you change that dress? This is my divine garment, you know. Right. When it came to practical matters, Aqua was often clueless. But with emotional stuff, she was oddly sharp. She smirked and teased, Shirakawa, don't tell me you've fallen for my beauty and divine presence. Well, since you defeated a Demon King's officer today, I, the great goddess, will grant a tiny wish from a loyal follower. As a divine garment. Naturally, it could change its length. Under Aqua's control, the hem, which barely covered her hips and revealed she wasn't wearing panties, extended significantly, completely covering her curvy figure. She clapped her hands and said smugly, all right, time for the party. Wait, one more thing. Teach me that weapon summoning skill of yours. No reason not to squeeze every benefit. Shirakawa would need a personalized wand eventually. Couldn't be lugging one across every world. And Aqua's staff summoning skill? Now that the chance had come, Shirakawa had to learn it. It'd make travel much easier in the future. Luckily, Aqua wasn't annoyed. She explained how the skill worked and even gave a demonstration. Soon, his proficiency panel responded with a prompt, detected learnable skill, weapon storage. Learn now. Yes. After Aqua left, Darkness went home to change. The one who stayed by Shirakawa's side was Megaman, the airhead judged by the Headless Knight. When they were alone, Megaman seemed a little shy. Tugging at the hem of her skirt, she mumbled, It's okay if you don't give me anything. The Headless Knight came to Axel because of me. If I don't give you money, how will you eat later? Shirakawa patted her head gently. There'd be more missions in other worlds. No way he could deliver meals to her every day. Lowering her head, Megaman watched him walk away. Though she acted overly fired up, she wasn't emotionless. Blushing deeply. She felt something strange but not unpleasant. Darkness didn't attend the banquet. When she met Shirakawa again, even he was a little surprised at her appearance. To be precise, this was the real Lady Lalatina. She wore a white noblewoman's gown, and her figure, usually hidden under armor, was on full display. Golden hair braided and hanging to the left, she exuded elegance. Not the usual pervy masochist. But before Shirakawa could fully process the image. Please don't look at me like that. She could clearly feel Shirakawa's lewd gaze. Darkness, unable to contain her inner excitement, blushed and trembled slightly. Though she said it like a protest, she was secretly hoping for something rougher. I've already booked the room. So, shall we go now? Don't worry, Shirakawa, I'm mentally prepared to offer everything to the god I believe in. By the time the banquet ended, it was already close to midnight. The streets of Axel were empty of adventurers, and even Megaman and Aqua were drunk. There was still plenty of time. The only issue was the location. Shirakawa gave a casual glance around. In the distance stood the Church of Eris. A breeze occasionally blew by, rustling Darkness's skirt. I don't think there's any need to go to an inn, right? Darkness quickly picked up on Shirakawa's idea. She glanced around as well and didn't see any other pedestrians. First time. And it's an outdoor play? She could feel her body heating up. Nodding slightly, she said, the alleyway works too. Nope. Look. Shirakawa pointed ahead with a smile. That Church of Eris up there. Isn't it pretty spacious? Chapter 65, Eris, I've already taken Shirakawa's shape. Late night. The Eris church was quiet. The nuns had already gone to rest. Although she was a former follower of the Eris church, this was the first time darkness had visited it this late. The most critical part. She glanced at Shirakawa beside her, taking deep breaths in an attempt to calm her nerves. But her gaze soon landed on the highest point of the church. The divine statue bathed in moonlight looked especially holy. Are we really doing this here? Her first time with Shirakawa, someone she'd only known for a single day. Just these two facts were enough to send her heart into a frenzy. Not to mention, she had recently betrayed her family's faith and became a chosen of the Church of Pleasure. And now, her first time was about to take place inside Eris's own church. What kind of depraved behavior was this? Eris-sama, I'm sorry. I've already taken Shirakawa-sama's shape. Please forgive the blasphemy of this former follower. If there's a next life, I hope to personally atone to you. Gazing at the statue of the goddess who had once looked down on her with love, Darkness's cheeks were already flushed. Finally, she turned her eyes to the calm figure beside her. She couldn't wait any longer. Breathing heavily, she felt that once she experienced this kind of depravity, she could never go back. Turning to the still passive Shirakawa, she asked, So, what are you going to do to me? No matter what, I won't disgrace myself in front of my former goddess. Even if you take my body, my heart, and even my faith. Eris-sama will always be the most respected goddess in my past. Why do I feel like the villain here? Hearing Darkness's declaration of righteousness, Shirakawa couldn't help but feel a little conflicted. But hey, he was a proper god. At this point, he looked at the statue of Eris in the distance. No way a goddess was keeping constant watch over every inch of the church. Besides, if he remembered correctly, Eris was probably running around frantically cleaning up Aqua's messes and recovering all those game-breaking artifacts. Shirakawa-kun. So what now? While Shirakawa was spacing out, Darkness, unable to suppress her longing, asked him eagerly. Doing this kind of thing with her current god, in the place of her former god. She was practically asking for it. If Shirakawa didn't respond now, she'd probably categorize him as a pervert with lustful thoughts but no guts. Lift your skirt. To satisfy Darkness's desire to be dominated, Shirakawa, sitting in the back pew of the church, calmly gave the order as he looked her over. The white moonlight offered decent visibility. Watching the girl shyly lift her skirt. Her regular training had left no extra flesh on her legs. In fact, the lines were beautifully defined. Her fair, smooth skin shivered slightly, probably from his focused gaze. And then came into view. Pink panties. Don't look at me. Look at your former goddess instead. Given her unique preferences, Shirakawa didn't mind spicing things up a little. And as for removing her final defense, he was quite experienced. So it's finally come to this. Recalling the tenets of the Church of Pleasure, Darkness took a deep breath, bracing herself as she gripped the back of the pew in front. She tilted up her flawless face, eyes locking on the divine statue far ahead. Axel's nights were slightly chilly. A breeze passed by, and her flushed cheeks were practically dripping. Unable to think of any better metaphors, and with Shirakawa not making her wait, the holy sword was summoned. A duel challenge was issued to the crusader. Shirakawa-sama, even if you're the god of pleasure, I am a holy crusader with unshakable will. I will not lose to you no matter what. Feeling the power radiating from Shirakawa's divine sword, Darkness gritted her teeth, still insisting defiantly. This is a battle between adventurers. You absolutely cannot defeat me. Such a declaration of righteousness even got Shirakawa's blood pumping a little. But facing Darkness, his tone grew more serious, though a faint smile played on his lips. Lalatina, you've got it backward. You're the challenger here. As a crusader, even before becoming an adventurer, Darkness had trained endlessly. Strength, endurance, resistance. But she never imagined that her prized defense would be this fragile before Shirakawa. No wonder he could instantly kill Demon King generals and was known as Axel's strongest adventurer. He didn't hold back just because they were on the same team. She even felt as if Eris's statue were watching, stirring up a flurry of emotions in her chest. In the end, the unwavering path of a knight fueled Darkness to keep going. I won't give up. Good. Facing a masochistic and stubborn female knight, Shirakawa had no intention of going easy. A battle like this needed a clear winner. And the winner could only be him. With a max stamina from his Exorcist class, he took complete control of the fierce fight. Integrating the Bujujima-style sword techniques he learned from Siko into his holy sword skills, he easily overwhelmed the novice stage Darkness. More than enough. Even under the gaze of her former goddess, the physically exhausted darkness could only clench her teeth and endure. Her skirt had already fallen to the floor. Can I win? No. I can't win at all. Current dimensional chat group members online, 10. Limited time daily check-in is now available. Would you like to sign in? Yes. Originally, Shirakawa thought darkness would be more oppressive, being a muscular crusader. But in reality, she didn't even come close to the pressure of the apocalypse world. Her defense wasn't particularly refined, and she hadn't learned any offensive skills. Darkness was completely passive the entire time. As the clock struck midnight, the daily check-in reminder from the dimensional chat group finally made Shirakawa stop fighting. Even though there wasn't anything particularly scheduled for tomorrow, he couldn't possibly keep beating darkness until she was black and blue, right? Take a break, darkness. You've done really well. Just in terms of performance, she was definitely stronger than Yumeko. She had extraordinary abilities and was blushing deeply, her eyes a little unfocused. Shirakawa helped darkness pick up her skirt and covered her with it, then turned his attention to the dimensional chat group. Normal high school student checked in and received 17 points, Ice Queen checked in and received 11 points, Sakura Jimami checked in and received 16 points, Blue Ribbon checked in and received 9 points. As the check-ins wrapped up, the atmosphere started to get lively. Group members began sharing their current point tallies. Sakura Jimami, I finally saved up 50 points. Looks like I can redeem a 7-day world teleport anchor. Any recommended worlds to visit? Future Holy Sword Wielder, I still don't recommend coming to my world. I've uploaded the Holy Sword Awakening Guide in the group files, if you want to become a Holy Sword Wielder. Future Holy Sword Wielder, just follow the instructions and give it a try. Blue Ribbon, Sakura Jimami, you're an ordinary high school student, right? Want to come to my world and become a member of Hestia's Familia? Blue Ribbon, I'll help you awaken your abilities. Mistress of the Butterfly State, I feel like Aqua's world isn't bad either. It has that adventurous vibe. Overall, very friendly. Mistress of the Butterfly State, it might be perfect for a newcomer. Aqua, if you come to my world, I can cover your adventurer certification fees. But if you're going to Hestia's world, Aqua, it's really dangerous, okay? Blue Ribbon, then don't blame me if I don't hold back, Shirakawa. Still not considering becoming my first Familia member? Blue Ribbon, I'll give you all the love and care you deserve. Normal high school student, it's probably happening in the next day or two. I've saved enough points, and I'm actually kind of interested in your world, Blue Ribbon. Unexpectedly, the topic had turned to him. Since Hestia extended the invitation, it was the perfect chance to head to Danmaki. A skill that could update status attributes. Overall, pretty useful. Aqua, Shirakawa, didn't we agree to form a party and defeat the Demon King? If you think defeating the Demon King isn't rewarding enough. Aqua, do you want me, as your goddess, to give you a chance to pursue me? Blue Ribbon, wouldn't it be faster if I just pursued Shirakawa? Shirakawa stopped paying attention to the chat. Either way, he had to go to the Danmaki world. Creating a Familia as a god. There were many people who could become his chosen ones. With the chat group's information shielding in place, he didn't have to worry about being discovered by the other gods. Even if he was, there was nothing they could do. Using divine powers in the lower world would get them forcibly returned to the heavens. Once he had 10 chosen of pleasure members, a new profession would unlock. In Danmaki, many adventurers wanted to join familias and get blessings. And there was no limit to how many chosen he could have. For every extra chosen one, his stats increased by 10%. Anything that improved his power, Shirakawa was more than happy to do. To grow stronger, heading to Aurario was key. How are you feeling? He looked at Darkness, who had straightened her clothes and returned to normal. Except for her blushing face. After all, she was one of the pleasure gods chosen from the Konosuba world. Looking at the noble lady in front of him, Shirakawa knew he couldn't just let her go home alone. He had to escort her back. She still hadn't recovered from the intense fight. Her body was exhausted and sore from the strain, and she winced slightly. Facing Shirakawa's gaze, Darkness avoided his eyes a little. But deep down, she was actually kind of looking forward to it. Even though she was a crusader who could no longer fight, now she had to face the whims of a powerful god. No matter what, I won't give in. But when she saw Shirakawa lift her skirt, the dual stimulation of body and mind made her shudder. But the scenario she'd imagined didn't happen. He somehow pulled out a black marker and slowly drew a symbol on the inside of her thigh, then lowered her skirt. She couldn't help but look down. It was a black dash. This is your mark of defeat. Work hard to get stronger, Darkness. Once those marks add up into a tally, I'll give you the most severe punishment. It was a way to motivate Darkness to improve, though Shirakawa did enjoy this a little too much. After handling the aftermath, when it came to his women, even if one of them was a masochistic pervert, Shirakawa was still willing to treat her gently. He changed the subject lightly. Where do you live? It's pretty late. I'll walk you back. Ah. That sudden tenderness hit Darkness hard. Her blue eyes gazed intently at Shirakawa. If his flaws just happened to match her preferences. For a brief moment, she felt her heart skip a beat. Maybe Shirakawa was actually a really gentle guy. She felt shy about her emotions. She nodded lightly. Thank you, Shirakawa. I'd be worried if you went home alone this late. It was rare for her to act like this. Shirakawa casually waved it off, grabbed her calloused hand from long training, and tried to walk. But she didn't budge. He turned, puzzled, and saw Darkness standing still. Her shy expression vanished, replaced by a look of anticipation deep in her eyes. I have a question. Just how severe is the most severe punishment? Don't get the wrong idea. This is to warn myself. Then why do you look like you're really looking forward to it? Leaving the Konosuba world and carrying a magical device bought from the Adventurers Guild, Shirakawa returned to the real world around dawn. Miro Yumiko, living alone at home. If nothing unexpected happened, she was probably planning to move in with him soon. As he opened the door and was heading to the bathroom to wash up, he noticed the blonde girl already standing at the bedroom door, awakened by the noise. Why are you awake? Maybe. It's because I became a Esper. Not only is my body stronger now, but my senses are also sharper. She didn't ask what Shirakawa had been up to. Instead, she handed him a glass of water and said with a hint of excitement, my spiritual awareness is still there. But those evil spirits don't even dare get close to me anymore. It feels so good not having to worry about being attacked. She started sharing what had happened at school. If Shirakawa wasn't heading to wash up, she'd probably have dragged him to the balcony to look at the moon. Sleeping could wait. She was enjoying their time alone. Though she hadn't realized it herself yet, this was what being in love felt like. If you have something to say, you can say it while we wash up. Faced with Shirakawa's invitation, Yumiko hesitated for a moment, then pulled a bathrobe from her closet and followed. She had a good idea of what was going to happen next. Nervous, but also kind of excited. That girl Yuki Noshita who treated you coldly the other day. For some reason, she showed up in our class today. Looked like she was looking for you. But I gave her a piece of my mind and sent her packing. Hiss. Not there. After getting a basic grasp of what happened at school, Shirakawa could guess why Yuki Noshita Yukino suddenly sought him out. Even with his eyes closed. Suddenly awakening spiritual perception. Desperately wanting to deal with ghosts, but realizing he never went to the classics club. After a busy half-day and a quick wash-up, he helped Miro Yumiko out of the bathroom. Their destination wasn't the bedroom, but the living room, where a magic device resembling a globe, but clearly far more complex, sat on the table. It had been purchased from the world of Konosuba. This is a magical apparatus I bought from another world. Shirakawa said casually, pointing at the device and explaining to Miro Yumiko. Its function is to evaluate physical attributes and let you choose a class to become a real adventurer. Adventurer class? Like in light novels or anime. You choose a class and gain relevant skills. Even if you encounter evil spirits, you'll have ways to deal with them. Oh. Recalling what Shirakawa said last night, Miro Yumiko hadn't expected him to make it happen so quickly. She could picture him actively looking for this. A ripple stirred in her heart. With a gentle smile. No longer her usual cold queen demeanor. She said seriously, please, Shirakawa-kun. Help me evaluate my stats. Chapter 66, Minami Riko becomes a chosen one. Time to start the party. Place your hand on the device. It'll automatically assess your stats. The detailed info will be written into an adventurer card. Following the instructions given by guild receptionist Luna, Shirakawa guided Yumiko's operation. The seemingly ordinary device suddenly whirred with countless moving components as it began scanning her. Pure blue mana emerged and engraved the data onto a floating adventurer card. Once the scan was complete, seeing that Yumiko wasn't picking up the card, Shirakawa grabbed it and carefully examined the stats of his first chosen one. Miro Yumiko class, unassigned current status, chosen of the pleasure god level, 1 constitution, 2 agility, 1.8 strength, 1.7 intelligence, 2 mana, 40 skills. None. A quick glance at the card showed constitution and intelligence were relatively high. An enhancement gained from becoming a chosen of the pleasure god. She had plenty of job options. Warrior-type classes requiring physical strength or mage types needing high intelligence. She could choose either. Shirakawa handed her the card with a smile. Your base stats are pretty good. Already above the average person. For job choices, You have access to many high-tier ones, like Cleric, Priest, or Archpriest. Mage classes are an option too. So how should I choose? As a top-tier popular girl from Sobya High, Yumiko had no concept of adventurer classes. Seeing the list of options only left her more confused. So she directly tossed the decision to Shirakawa. I want a class that can fight evil spirits. Then go with something from the holy line. Cleric or Archpriest will do. Then I'll go with Cleric. With a clear direction, Yumiko decisively chose her class using the card. A flash of light lit up before her. The previously blank class panel now showed Cleric along with some basic skills including Purification and Blessing. Though never taught, she instinctively knew how to use them. Holy Light. Without any weapon, Yumiko activated her skill. A pure and brilliant light shone from her palm, instantly illuminating the dim room. You've adapted to your role pretty quickly. If you want to level up, consider hunting wandering spirits. That's how you gain EXP. Leveling up gives you stat points and SP, skill points. Perhaps due to the chosen buff, her base stats were quite high, letting her pick top-tier class. Shirakawa wasn't too surprised. In the original Konosuba, the protagonist was a shut-in with zero training. Even after becoming an adventurer, his stats were ridiculously low. He explained the purpose of the adventurer system and SP points in detail to help Yumiko understand her abilities. He had no plans to stay in that world. In Konosuba's setting, undead creatures could technically be classified as undead-type beings. With the device in hand. His next destination, the Apocalypse World. There, he'd help Sako Bujujima, Shizuka Marikawa, and others become adventurers, hunt zombies for experience, and raise their stats. Same explanation he gave to Yumiko, this is how you awaken as an adventurer. I won't interfere with your class choices. Pick based on functionality. He looked at the girls before him, all dressed in breezy summer outfits. First to awaken was Sako Bujujima. Just as he expected. With the pleasure god's blessing, her high stats gave her access to every class. Being the captain of the Kendo Club, Sako made her decision instantly, I want to become a sword master. Alright. After the transfer, Sako, already physically strong from years of training, now had the highest stats among the group. Everything went smoothly. Rei Miyamoto chose the marksman class. The Tsuntier Saya Takagi went with a top-tier elemental mage. As for the school nurse, the gentle Shizuka Marikawa became a nun-class adventurer. Sword master, marksman, elemental mage, and nun. Overall, a very balanced party. As for your gear, Shirakawa added, I'll get beginner sets for each of you from other worlds. You'll gain EXP by hunting zombies. Teamwork is crucial. He helped them assess their stats and awaken their classes. Now, the worries about the Apocalypse World had completely vanished. Shirakawa looked at Shizuka, whose hands glowed with gentle light, and Saya, now an adept of all elemental spells. This was all he could do for now. The path to getting stronger lay ahead. The zombie virus would never truly end. With so many monsters, Shirakawa was curious just how far this adventurer team from the Apocalypse World could grow. So this is what it means to have a class. Saya Takagi looked at the pure water conjured from mana in her hand. Her lifted lips reflected her awe. Completely surprised. She never imagined she'd one day wield supernatural powers. Still lacking a proper weapon, Rei Miyamoto already began anticipating what her marksman class could really do. If anyone felt out of place, it was Minami Rika. After spending yesterday with them, she gradually got to know Sako and Rei. Initially, she hadn't noticed the difference being a chosen one made. But now, watching the others fluently use magic skills, Minami Rika couldn't pretend she wasn't excited. The most crucial part. She had already rejected Shirakawa at the beginning, and now she wanted to become a chosen of the god of pleasure? She really didn't have the shamelessness to go through with that. Not realizing the atmosphere was getting a little strange, as a nun, Shizuka Marikawa acted like a child who had found a new toy. Both hands were glowing with holy light. She looked at her friend Minami Rika with delight and added fuel to the fire. Rika, doesn't this profession look super amazing? Minami Rika could only respond in silence, just about to give a few compliments. But then a middle-aged man's pleading voice came from outside the window. Curious, Sako Takagi put on something more covering and walked over to the balcony. The scene before her made her frown slightly. A middle-aged man holding a little girl was begging for shelter, only to be heartlessly killed with a knife, leaving the girl alone. She stood frozen in place. Only 6 or 7 zombies were slowly approaching the little girl. Not a large horde, but enough to be dangerous. What's going on? Seeing there were no passers-by around, Shirakawa casually fondled Sako's large thunder. Or rather, her chest. And looked in the direction she was staring at. There was a young girl. She was slowly being surrounded by the undead. Fighting off her fear, she covered her mouth with her hands to avoid making noise, guarding her father's corpse. With his excellent vision, Shirakawa clearly saw the trembling girl. She had short, reddish-brown hair and a cute appearance. As for her identity, he recalled it instantly. She was a character from the Apocalypse world, Alice Mersato. Her mental state and actions didn't match her age at all. A lullaby to raise? No, a prison sentence grade girl. Need help? Feeling a jolt of electricity through her body, Sako didn't act rashly. After all, to survive in a collapsing world, one absolutely couldn't be naively merciful. Sure, these zombies can serve as your training targets. She had a good personality, and since the little girl was lucky enough to encounter them, Shirakawa wouldn't just let her die to zombies. He gave the zombies a brief glance. Their numbers weren't too high, just right for the new adventurer party to use for practice. Alright. Leave it to us, then. Sako Takagi didn't hesitate. She and her teammates decisively jumped down from the second floor, drawing the zombies' attention with the sound of their landing. They began the rescue of Alice Mersato. For this level of battle, Shirakawa had no interest in watching. Even if they weren't yet professionals, with Sako Bujujima's broken-level combat power in this world, she could easily finish the rescue. He sat down on the couch in the living room. The TV was useless due to the loss of signal, but Shirakawa didn't care. He was about to put away his magical appraisal device, when he turned his head and saw Minami Rika looking slightly uneasy. He could basically guess what she was thinking. Gaining supernatural power. Nobody would turn that down. But obtaining that power came with a price. Shirakawa, if I want to become an adventurer, do I have to be a chosen one? Is there another way? From Shizuka Marikawa. She had roughly learned the price of becoming a chosen of the god of pleasure, offering body and soul, along with sincere faith in Shirakawa. But something like that was hard to accept for someone like Minami Rika, who had always acted like a strong, independent woman. After some inner conflict, she chose to ask directly. There is, of course. Actually, you can become an adventurer without being a chosen. Shirakawa answered easily. He figured she wanted to find another way to skip the chosen process and gain superpowers. And things went exactly as he predicted. Getting a clear answer, Minami Rika's expression became more serious. The cost of becoming a chosen. I might not be able to accept it. Is there another way to compensate? No. To be precise, I'm under no obligation to help anyone. They didn't choose to become my chosen. Rather, I chose them. Random nobodies with no connection to him. Was he supposed to care about whether they lived or died? Shirakawa shook his head with a smile. Besides, Minami Rika had nothing substantial to offer. She wasn't even worth using his appraisal ability on. And he wouldn't offer help for free without a price. A god is merciful. To those who have faith in me, I give the chance to transcend and gain supernatural powers. Hearing this made Minami Rika even more conflicted. To give up the most precious thing she had guarded for so many years. To someone she wasn't even that close to. Even if he was a god from another world, it was still hard to accept. But when she looked at things from another perspective, this was an apocalypse.